Chapter 52:01. The familiar voice sounded again. This time, it was very clear. However, Long Chen was not too excited and responded calmly, "Who are you?" However, the voice became blurred for a moment, as if it was disturbed by some force, and Long Chen could only feel the anxiety, and soon, the voice completely disappeared. Long Chen was silent. This voice appeared too many times. Every time it was like this, he could only speak half of the words, and then there was no sound. Long Chen was silent in the endless darkness. At that moment, he suddenly felt very comfortable, as if in the endless darkness, he would feel safe. People fear the dark. I like the dark. Maybe I am the dark. Long Chen whispered in the dark. I don't know why. After seeing Yu Qingchuan's thousand-life reincarnation, Long Chen felt that he was full of disgust for the whole world at this moment. Although Long Chen doesn't know what Dandi means, Long Chen has a feeling that she should be the strongest group of powerhouses in the 9 days, and also the existence of the ceiling level in this world. Long Chen has seen Dandi deity several times. Her beauty, gentleness, and kindness make people look at her and are willing to protect her with life. She seems to be synonymous with a beautiful world. And just such a person, someone would betray her, and the person who betrayed her was actually her disciple. Long Chen knew nothing about what happened to Dandi and why her disciples betrayed her, but Long Chen saw that even if he was at the top of the 9 heavens, he still couldn't control life and death. The helplessness and anger that made him Long Chen's heart kept getting colder. It was so cold that Long Chen wanted to smash this ruthless world with his own hands. The powerhouse at the level of Pill Emperor was also forced to fall into reincarnation, was ruthlessly chased and killed, and finally ended up losing all memory and forgetting the initial persistence. Sorrow? Thinking of the scene of Yu Qingchuan's fall in Tianwu continent, Long Chen's heart will be broken. Regardless of whether Yu Qingxian is the original Dan Emperor, Long Chen must guard her wholeheartedly, love her, and prevent her from being hurt anymore. And Dan Emperor was chased and killed by De Brahma, which made Long Chen think of a possibility, that is, De Brahma has already controlled the power of reincarnation. Even if he does not fully control it, he can also control part of the power of reincarnation. Otherwise, how can he be accurate every time? To find the reincarnated Dan Emperor? If Brahma can control the power of reincarnation, then he will definitely be able to control a part of the power of heaven. No wonder Chen Kuanding said that the way of heaven will not target anyone, but the way of heaven is not the way it used to be. This is a hint that someone controls the way of heaven. Under the darkness of the way of heaven, the fire of evil is spreading, causing the good people to be persecuted and struggling to survive, while the bad people live extremely comfortably. The way of heaven is no longer fair. This picture also sounded the alarm for Long Chen. Before, Long Chen saw the picture of De Brahma assassinating the Dan Emperor. At that time, the Dan Emperor should not have died directly. Long Chen had heard that De Brahma was killed by Dan Emperor, leaving only a trace of Yuanshan. No one knew how Dan Emperor fell. And the one who chased and killed the Dan Emperor in the reincarnation was only a trace of the primordial spirit left by De Brahma. And this trace of primordial spirit still possessed the power to destroy the sky and the earth. The Dan Emperor used the Chaos Pearl, but still did not kill it. Even though he was severely injured, De Brahma still personally hunted down and killed the Dan Emperor in the reincarnation. Until Dan Emperor's memory kept decaying, his will was constantly being wiped out, and it was not a big threat to him, so he went to heal and handed it over to his subordinates to continue. Chase and kill Emperor Dan in Samsara. This time, Long Chen finally saw the tip of the iceberg of Brahma's strength, but the strength of this corner was desperately strong. At that time, the Dan Emperor already had a human emperor-level cultivation, but in front of De Brahma, he did not take action, but directly detonated the Chaos Pearl. Obviously, she knew that with her strength, she couldn't compete with De Brahma at all. Yuanshan counterbalance. The strength of the human sovereign realm cannot compete with a trace of primordial spirit, so how strong will the great Brahma in its heyday be? Long Chen was hit for the first time. At this time, De Brahma was like a mountain, and he was an ant in front of the mountain. The power gap between the two was too great. The most important thing is that after the fall of Emperor Dan, De Brahma has been recuperating and developing believers frantically. Obviously, he is relying on the power of faith to restore the true body that was destroyed by Emperor Dan. Countless years have passed, and I don't know how much Brahma has recovered, but no matter how much he recovers, it is not comparable to the current Longchen, and revenge is still far away. Moreover, Longchen also thought of a possibility. Even if Dan Emperor was seriously injured by a sneak attack, he could still blow up De Brahma's body and destroy his primordial spirit. So the reason for the fall of Dan Emperor, De Brahma is just one of them. That's right. Although the traitor still has Luoshani, Longchen feels that even if the two of them join forces, they are not opponents of Emperor Pill at all. There must be more terrifying enemies who participated in the siege of Emperor Pill and caused Emperor Pill to fall. When I think of it, there is an existence of the same level as De Brahma. If it was someone else, I would have been desperate. Even Longchen still suffered a huge impact. In the endless darkness, Longchen fell into contemplation, and at this moment, a cold voice came. Afraid? Coward? If so, hand over your body to me to control, and I'll help you kill them all and destroy the 9 heavens and 10 earths together? Hearing that voice, Longchen's heart froze. It was the voice of the inner demon. It had disappeared for a long time. Why did it suddenly appear again? But this time, unlike the past, the voice didn't sound in his mind, as if it was shouting to him through an endless space. I, Longchen, have never been afraid, don't bother you. Longchen said coldly. Hey, it doesn't make any sense to talk hard. Don't worry, wait for me for a while. When I completely master the power that belongs to me, I will take over this body, and then I will let all the creatures in the 9 days and 10 places listen to me. When you reach the word Longchen, you will feel endless fear. The voice of the heart demon came. This time, Longchen heard clearly. He was indeed not in the depths of his soul. The voice had a familiar breath, and when he carefully identified the breath, Longchen suddenly said, "Are you in hell?" Huh? The inner demon didn't answer, just laughed for a while, and then there was no more sound. Longchen's heart was beating wildly. From the voice of the heart demon, Longchen felt the fluctuation of hell. Longchen had entered hell once and was very familiar with the fluctuation. At that moment, Longchen suddenly felt that something was wrong, and extreme unease came from his heart. Longchen's body trembled. He withdrew from the endless darkness, opened his eyes. He saw the statue of Emperor Pill and Yu Qingchuan's worried eyes. When he saw Yu Qingchuan's worried expression, Longchen felt a pain in his heart and suddenly opened his arms and hugged Yu Qingxian tightly. Chapter 5202, Longchen, There Are People Next to You. The Palace Master, Bai Ledin, Lu Chengkong, the older generation of powerhouses as well as the younger generation of disciples were all here. Longchen suddenly hugged himself. Yu Qingxian suddenly blushed with shame. She wanted to break free, but found that the dragon Chen's eyes were red, and his heart suddenly trembled. Longchen, what's wrong with you? Yu Qingxian trembled. I am willing to incarnate a pontoon for you and experience 500 years of wind, 500 years of rain, and 500 years of sunshine, just to tell you when you can walk on the pontoon. I love you. Longchen tight holding Yu Qingxian tightly, her voice choked. At this time, Longchen was holding Yu Qingxian, thinking of the suffering she had suffered in the reincarnation of thousands of lives, and what he could do for her was too little, too little. Originally Yu Qingxian was very ashamed, but when she heard Longchen's words from the bottom of her heart, she suddenly hugged Longchen tightly and no longer thought about whether there was anyone around. At this moment in the world, it seemed that only she and Longchen. The boss is the boss. If I had the ability to be the boss, I wouldn't be a dog all the time. Guoran couldn't help sighing when he saw Yu Qingchuan's moved appearance. Isn't it bad to be a dog? It's better than being rude and being hurt. A single dog can also have the joy of being a single dog. Xiachen said with disapproval. It was obvious that Xiachen, who had been deceived in his relationship, had never been able to heal the pain in his heart. It's nice to be young. After the Lord of the Palace left such a sentence, he left directly. Bai Ledian and others also found that in this occasion, it seems that these old guys are here, some of them are not suitable, and they all leave one after another. Bai Shirshir looked at the two hugging each other tightly, and for some reason, there was a hint of grief in her heart, but at this time, Bai Xiaola didn't notice the change in his sister's emotions at all. He smiled and said, "Sister, if I remember correctly, has the boss never hugged you like this? I think women should be tender like water, just like Sister Qingxian, to be more provocative." Alas, mother. Pain. Before Bai Xiaola finished speaking, his face was pinched by Bai Shishir, and he bared his teeth in pain. He hurriedly cast a spell and broke away from Bai Shishi's magic claws. Yin helped Bai Xiaola to escape, but Bai Shishir stopped drinking. "Xiaojiao, have you thought about it?" The little fox was so frightened that it suddenly kicked its hind legs and jumped directly from Bai Xiaola's shoulder to Guoran's shoulder. Obviously, it decided to stay out of it. "Xiaojiao, you are not loyal." Bai Xiaola shouted angrily. Without Xiaojiao's help, he ran away. "It hurts, if you provoke others, it will hurt. Even I understand this truth, you are stupid." The little fox pouted. The little fox's words made everyone laugh. After Bai Xiaola was kicked twice, he escaped without a trace, and Bai Shishir walked back angrily. At this time, Long Chen and Yu Qingxian also came over. At this time, Long Chen's eyes were still red, and everyone felt that the boss at this time seemed to be a little wrong. "Boss, are you all right?" Guoran and the others were taken aback. Long Chen shook his head and said, "I'm fine, let's go, let's find a place, I have something to tell you." Sure, come, I have something to tell you." Yu Qingxian took Bai Shishi's hand and the two left first. Long Chen took the Dragon Blood Legion and found a remote place outside the academy. Xia Chen arranged the formation to isolate all peeps before Long Chen said, "Statistically, how many brothers are there, and there is no advanced son of destiny?" Upon hearing this, Guoran suddenly said embarrassedly, "I don't know why, after the baptism of the Shenqi, the proportion of our Dragon Blood Legion's advanced destiny children is far less than those of the branch disciples, and now the Dragon Blood Legion only has more than 2,000 destiny. The son, the remaining more than 5,000 brothers, failed to awaken. The strange thing is that many of our sergeant majors and team leaders have not awakened, but some ordinary Dragon Blood warriors have awakened a lot." Long Chen nodded and said, "Actually, this is not surprising. Everyone has practiced the Dragon God Body refinement technique and integrated the will of the Dragon Soul, and everyone's aptitude is affected by the Dragon Soul in the body. Many Dragon Souls have been sleeping for too long, resulting in a serious loss of energy. The energy in the Shenqi is not enough to make up for their loss, so they cannot advance to the awakening of the Destiny Roulette." When Long Chen said this, everyone suddenly realized that it was not their talent, nor their lack of effort. The problem was the Dragon Soul in their bodies. "Xia Chen, please confirm again, have you blocked the secret to ensure that you will not be peeped?" Long Chen said to Xia Chen. Seeing that Long Chen was so serious, Xia Chen directly arranged 9 enchantments again, and then Xia Chen said confidently, "Don't worry, boss, it has been completely blocked, and no one can peep." Long Chen nodded, his mind sank into the chaotic space, and came to the Tiandao tree, such as today's Dao tree. The place that once bloomed was already densely full of fruits. These fruits are different from the previous heavenly Dao fruits. Each heavenly Dao fruit carries a destiny roulette, and the vast destiny fluctuations make each fruit full of heart-shattering coercion. This is the heavenly Dao fruit of the children of destiny. These fruits are not born directly, but after Long Chen killed countless children of destiny, the heavenly Dao tree absorbed their power and absorbed countless energy from flowering to fruition. When these Tiandao fruits mature, they will automatically fall off the Tiandao tree, then rebloom, grow, bear fruit, fall off after maturity, and then continue to bloom, forming a cycle. In the Tianhua demon realm, Long Chen did not know how many sons of destiny he killed, and the fruits under the Tiandao tree had piled up into a hill with tens of thousands of them. However, compared with the millions of sons of destiny killed by Long Chen has to kill at least 100 sons of destiny before he can produce a son of destiny-level heavenly Dao fruit. The power of heaven contained in the fruit is extremely pure. When Long Chen took it out, everyone was stunned. However, they were all used to it. Those who did not awaken the son of destiny took the fruit and ate it. Buzzing. When someone ate the fruit, the destiny roulette appeared behind him in an instant. This effect was many times stronger than Shenqi's. At that moment, the dragon blood warriors shouted excitedly. Some people eat one fruit and immediately awaken the wheel of destiny. Some people wake up after eating 2 fruits, and some people wake up after eating 5 or 6 fruits. At most, a person wakes up after eating a dozen or so, but when he wakes up, the terrifying fluctuations in destiny shocked everyone, and the pressure of his destiny roulette is too terrifying. It seems that in a few days, the positions of the Dragon Blood Legion will be replaced by a large number. Long Chen looked at the destiny roulette of these Dragon Blood warriors, a little excited. Chapter 5203 Xia Chen, Guoran and the others nodded. They knew that these warriors who awakened the destiny roulette late were all because the dragon soul in their bodies was too strong. If these dragon souls want to recover to their strongest state, they need more energy. Only when the dragon souls are fully recovered, they share the power of their masters. Only on this basis can the wheel of destiny be awakened. After all, in the Emperor Dragon Blood Pond, they merged the dragon souls that communicated with their own souls, which means that from now on they are partners in life and death, sharing weal and woe. Under the unity of the two, if one aspect is deficient, the balance cannot be achieved, and thus the roulette of destiny cannot be awakened. And the bigger the deficit, the stronger their dragon souls are. Now that their destiny roulette is awakened, the original coercion of destiny roulette is so terrifying. Just too scary. Before, the positions of the captains and sergeants in the Dragon Blood Legion did not change much, because these captains and sergeants were too strong. Even if they were occasionally defeated and gave up their positions, it would not take long before they were taken back. But it's different now. Some warriors' destiny roulette is too oppressive, and within the Dragon Blood Legion, I am afraid there will be a big change. I feel a lot of pressure. Li Qi couldn't help but smile when he saw the fate roulette of these warriors. It doesn't matter, if anyone can beat me, I will happily give up my position. Song Mingyuan said with a smile without any pressure. Dragon Blood warriors are like brothers. No one has ever blushed for a position, and no one will care about that position so much. The reason why the internal competition is fierce is to let the stronger people carry heavier burdens, otherwise it will be lazy and put the brothers in danger. Soon, all the Dragon Blood warriors awakened the destiny roulette. For a time, the entire Dragon Blood army was in high spirits, and the state was suddenly different. At the same time, they worshipped the boss of Longchen more and more, and directly promoted all the warriors to the children of destiny. This ability is simply against the sky. When all the Dragon Blood warriors awakened, everyone returned to the academy. When the Dragon Blood warriors returned to the academy with the vast fluctuation of destiny, the whole academy was stunned. They didn't know what happened during the day. After returning to the academy, Long Chen, as the dean, summoned all the disciples who had awakened the Son of Destiny, whether it was the disciples of the branch or the main campus. Bai Shishir and Bai Xiaola both returned to the team. At this time, Bai Shishir had a worried look on his face, and even more guilt and anxiety in his eyes. Long Chen was stunned and said to Bai Shishir, "What's wrong?" "I'm sorry, Long Chen, I made Sister Qingxian angry. She said that she was going to stay in the Pill Courtyard, and she wouldn't accompany us to the Longyu anymore." Bai Shishir was so anxious going to cry. It turned out that after Yu Qingxian took Bai Shishi's hand and left, she told Bai Shishir to watch Long Chen carefully after she went to Longyu, not to let him act recklessly and take care of him more. Bai Shishir was taken aback and thought that she beat Bai Xiaola because of jealousy, causing her dissatisfaction. Yu Qingxian explained that she would use the power of the idol to comprehend the 8th volume of the Great Brahma Sutra. But Bai Shishir didn't believe it. She couldn't help being ashamed and anxious. At that time, Long Chen hugged Yu Qingxian in public and said such touching love words. As a woman, she would feel a little uncomfortable. But that is the nature of a woman, not jealous of Yu Qingxian. She panicked immediately and let Yu Qingxian explain. She thought that Yu Qingxian was blaming her. Now that she told Long Chen, the whole person seemed to be a prisoner who was about to be tried. The uneasy eyes were distressing. Long Chen looked at her and smiled slightly and said, "Silly girl, you're overthinking. Qingxian is not that kind of person, and the person who wants to say sorry should not be you, but me." Hearing Long Chen's comfort, Yu Qingxian felt a lot more relaxed. She might not believe Yu Qingchuan's words, but she believed in Long Chen. Yu Qingxian has a kind-hearted nature, but sometimes he is not good at expressing his emotions, and Bai Shishir misunderstood Yu Qingxian immediately under his self-indication. Long Chen knew that although he blocked the impact of Pill Emperor's memory by himself, Yu Qingxian, after 1,000 reincarnations, must have sensed something. Since the great Brahma killed the Dan Emperor, there is no Dan Emperor in this world. Perhaps it was to avoid the eyes of the great Brahma, or to avoid the cause and effect. The Dan Emperor was called the Dan Zu. Long Chen doesn't know if Yu Qingxian will be awakened again, but Long Chen can't force her. Long Chen wants Yu Qingxian to be happy and be an unrestrained phoenix, not a bird in a cage. Long Chen can only pray in his heart that she will not be awakened. Long Chen does not want her to carry anything. He is willing to use his shoulders to carry the entire sky for her, so that she can live a life without words. Her hatred, Long Chen will be won. Report by pen. Those blood debts owed to her, Long Chen wants them to pay back thousands of times. In this life, Long Chen wants to keep her safe and happy. Hearing Long Chen's reply, Bai Shishir's heart finally calmed down. All the Tianjiao at the level of the Son of Destiny in Lingshao Academy were called together. The people from the main academy were very excited, while the disciples from the first branch were a little uneasy. After all, before Long Chen, he killed too many people, from the deputy dean to the elders at all levels, and then to those disciples. Long Chen's ruthless means made them feel fearful, although they worshipped Long Chen's force, but also feared Long Chen the bloody hands of dust. As the dean of the academy, I should lead the academy, work diligently, and quickly improve the strength of the academy. However, I am full of trivial matters, and I have no time to take care of him. Now the first branch has suffered a great loss of vitality and strength, and I, Long Chen, have an inescapable responsibility. Today, I called you here to give you a good fortune to make up for the loss I caused to the first branch by massacred traitors. Long Chen said loudly. As soon as Long Chen's voice came out, the disciples of the main hospital were all enthusiastic. They knew Long Chen too well. Long Chen said that he would give them a good fortune, which must be a great good fortune. The disciples of the first branch, looking at the excited appearance of the disciples in the main courtyard, couldn't help but get excited. They also wanted to know what kind of good luck Long Chen was going to give them. As the children of destiny, everyone has entered the realm of immortality and is qualified to awaken the vision. Only by awakening the vision can you truly exert the strength of the destiny roulette, and you are the real children of destiny. I can't guarantee that all of you can awaken the vision of destiny, but I can guarantee that at least half of you can awaken. Long Chen said. What? As soon as Long Chen's voice fell, the disciples of the first branch were all shocked, and Yi Ziwen was even more excited. Dean Long Chen, is what you said true? Boom! With a wave of Long Chen's big hand, a big tree that covers the sky appears above the void. The endless branches and leaves cover the entire academy. There are thousands of rays of sunshine on the tree, thousands of rui kai, and pieces of glass-like leaves are shining. The moment it appeared, the powerhouses present were stunned by the appearance of this huge tree that covered the sky. Chapter 52. For the tree is thousands of miles high and covers the sky. As soon as it appeared, the entire academy was covered with a layer of colorful splendor. Except for the Dragon Blood Legion, everyone looked at the giant tree that covered the sky. The trunk was translucent. There seemed to be runes swimming inside. Shrouded, everyone was shocked. At that moment, the divine radiance poured into their souls, slowly taking away all their negative emotions. At that moment, they felt the stirring waves, washing away the filth in their souls, making their minds empty and clean. At this time, everyone entered an ethereal state, and the wisdom suppressed by negative emotions such as desire, hatred, and fear was rekindled. For them, they have never had such an opportunity in their life. Looking back on the past, they were in a daze. Now, they seem to have woken up from a nightmare, and they can see clearly and see the nature of the world. Of course, that's just a feeling. Under the splendor of the 7 treasure glazed glass tree, people's wisdom is improving, and their negative emotions are suppressed. Many things that can't be figured out can be figured out in an instant, and many mysterious things that can't be understood instantly find their way. It won't stay for a long time, you only have 3 hours, hurry up, communicate your destiny vision, and strive to find a way to awaken the vision within 3 hours. Don't miss this opportunity and you won't come back. Longchen said. Hearing what Longchen said, the disciples present finally understood how rare this opportunity was, and immediately began to enter into meditation and communicate their destiny roulette. It was not the first time that the Dragon Blood Legion had an epiphany under the 7-treasure glazed glass tree. Before Longchen could finish speaking, everyone had already begun to settle down. And for the disciples of the Galaxy sect, in the destiny roulette behind them, a little starlight appeared. Obviously, after they awaken the vision in the future, the vision must be related to the stars. Except for the disciples of the Dragon Blood Legion and the Galaxy sect, the destiny roulettes behind the other arrogances are of various kinds, with various colors and patterns emerging. Buzz, suddenly, the space trembled slightly, and Longchen was startled. Looking around, he saw a golden spot in the center of the destiny wheel behind Bai Shirshir. As soon as the golden spots appeared, Bai Shishi's whole aura changed in an instant. Her long hair was windless and automatic, and even Longchen felt his heart tremble with the fierce and sharp power of gold. It's too fast. I didn't expect her perception to be so powerful. Longchen couldn't help but praised in his heart. The 7 treasures glazed glass tree can enlighten people's wisdom, but enlightenment is not enhancement, it is only auxiliary to remove those obstacles that interfere with wisdom and suppress wisdom. For example, a person's wisdom value is 100, but because of the interference of emotions and desires, people's wisdom can only reflect 60 or 70 at most, and some people, because of too much external pressure and too much obsession in their hearts, their wisdom will be suppressed. It was even worse, causing a leaf to obscure the eyes and no mountains. And the magic method of the 7-treasure glazed glass tree is to remove the leaf that obstructs the eyes, so that people's wisdom can be restored to its strongest state, and it is 100% open. It took less than half a stick of incense to pass, and Bai Shishi's destiny roulette had already responded. Longchen did not expect that this usually stubborn, willful and aloof girl had such a high talent. Wisdom. Longchen looked at Bai Shirshir, her tall and straight nose bridge, slightly raised and slightly thin cherry lips, all showed her arrogant, strong, unwilling to admit defeat. Perhaps it was because of these characters that she suppressed and covered up her wisdom. Looking at her pale jade-like cheeks and swan-like jade neck, Longchen felt a little pain in his heart. With Bai Shishi's appearance, life experience, and talent, I don't know how many men are willing to surrender at her feet, be devoted and dedicated, and end from the beginning. She has always hated that men are not specific enough, but now she is willing to go against the instinct of life and be with herself. The hard work behind her, and the pain she endured, are unimaginable for a man like Longchen. Longchen sighed for a long time, looked at Bai Shirshir affectionately and said to himself, Longchen, what virtue and what ability will attract the favor of fairies like you? I am afraid that I will not live forever. Done. Suddenly, a sweet smile appeared on the corner of Bai Shishi's mouth, and Longchen's heart trembled. At that moment, Bai Shirshir seemed to hear his heart. Buzz. At this moment, the destiny roulette behind Bai Shirshir trembled, the golden spots kept flashing, and then the golden spots appeared one after another. 1, 2, 3, 10. Hundreds. Soon, hundreds of millions of golden spots appeared on the entire roulette. Like golden stars, the stars slowly converged, and finally a figure was formed. The figure was very blurry at first, but with the gathering of golden light spots, the man stood tall, his clothes fluttered, and his long hair fluttered, showing a valiant look. Who else wasn't that man Bai Shirshir? Her vision turned out to be her own? Longchen was taken aback. Suddenly, Bai Shirshir slowly opened her eyes. She looked at Longchen, her eyes were full of tenderness. Suddenly a figure appeared in front of Longchen, and for a while, Bai Shirshir was already hugging Longchen tightly. Thank you. Bai Shirshir plunged into Long Chen's arms and cried with joy. Shirshir, what's wrong with you? Long Chen thought that Bai Shirshir was crying with joy because of the awakening vision, but it didn't seem like it. Thank you for being able to treat me like this. I have heard your voice. Thank you for understanding me and cherishing me. I am very happy. Bai Shirshir hugged Long Chen tightly. Her voice trembled and choked. Did you really hear it? Long Chen was also taken aback. This was a bit incredible. Bai Shirshir actually knew what he was thinking. Bai Shirshir nodded. She looked at Long Chen with tears in her eyes and said, "Thank you for giving me the same position as my sisters." Damn, I'm going to die. Looking at Bai Shishi's appearance, Long Chen is happy, heartache, and endless shame. This love, the more and more I owe. Long Chen took a peek at the surroundings, but fortunately everyone was in meditation. No one saw this scene. Bai Shirshir realized that he had lost his temper and hurriedly withdrew from Long Chen's arms. His pretty face was full of shyness. Color. Long Chen looked at Bai Shishing's jade-white cheeks, with a little teardrop, and his beautiful eyes were full of hope, like a hibiscus, and the beauty was indescribable. Being looked at directly by Long Chen, Bai Shirshir was even more shy, but there was sweetness in his heart, and being looked at like this by someone he loved was an indescribable happiness. Buzz. Suddenly, there was a strange sound. Bai Shirshir hurriedly restrained his mentality, and the two of them looked in the direction of the sound at the same time. They knew that someone else had awakened the vision, but what they didn't expect was that the second person awakened the vision. Turned out to be Guoran. Chapter 5205. When they saw that a dragon-shaped pattern appeared in the destiny wheel behind Guoran, both Long Chen and Bai Shirshir were stunned. This guy turned out to be the second awakening vision. This guy is usually too lazy to die. In addition to his amazing talent in casting, he has always been at the bottom of his cultivation. It turned out to be the second awakening vision, which made Long Chen completely impressed by him. It seems that is this kid a wizard? We were all deceived by him? Soon, in the vision behind Guoran, countless dragon-shaped patterns emerged, and finally converged into a giant dragon. As soon as the giant dragon appeared, Guoran's destiny surged hundreds of times in an instant, and the aura even Long Chen felt was taken aback. However, what surprised Long Chen and Bai Shirshir was that the giant dragon in Guoran's vision opened his mouth and slowly spat out a ball. As soon as the ball appeared, it began to absorb the power of heaven and earth crazily, and finally formed a giant egg. Seeing this scene, both Long Chen and Bai Shirshir were stunned. What was the situation? Click! As soon as the giant egg appeared, the giant dragon actually bit through the eggshell and got into it, and then the eggshell recovered automatically, and the giant dragon actually hid itself in the egg. This? Long Chen's mouth was wide open. As soon as the giant dragon appeared, he actually hid himself again. Then, in Guoran's vision, only a giant egg appeared, which looked so funny. However, on the dome, countless runes are circulating, absorbing the power from the outside through the vision, and sending the energy into the eggshell continuously. The eggshell looked extremely thin at first, but with the injection of power, the eggshell gradually thickened and strengthened, and it even had a metallic luster. The vast dragon power circulated around the giant egg can give people endless pressure. The lazy dragon hides itself in an eggshell and continues to sleep, but that eggshell is a super powerful container that can store endless amounts of energy. Obviously, after the lazy dragon dived, the eggshell gave Guoranlai the power it contained, and it could go to sleep on its own. Long Chen was speechless when he saw this. Mo Nian is already lazy enough, but this lazy dragon has reached a new level of laziness, challenging the limit of people's imagination of laziness. This guy is a shame for the dragon family. The giant egg was formed, constantly absorbing the energy between heaven and earth. Its storage capacity was extremely astonishing. Long Chen suddenly thought that Guoran's combat power was entirely dependent on the armor on his body. As long as the armor is strong enough, this dome can provide Guoran with a steady stream of energy. With the cooperation of the two, Guoran's strength is simply inexhaustible. Boom! Suddenly, another person's destiny roulette kept vibrating in the distance, making a loud roar, That voice startled Bai Shirshir, and when he saw the owner of the vision, Bai Shirshir was taken aback. That person is none other than Yu Zifeng. Yu Zifeng has not experienced the baptism of Shenqi, nor has he eaten the fruit of destiny, but when he was promoted to the immortal realm to cross the calamity, he strangely awakened the roulette of destiny. Now the destiny roulette behind him keeps shaking, as if a pair of invisible big hands are squeezing it fiercely. His destiny roulette is about to explode. Bai Shirshir exclaimed. Don't be afraid, this is exactly what Zifeng wants. Long Chen didn't panic when he saw this picture, comforting Bai Shirshir. Why did he do this? Bai Shirshir was puzzled. Long Chen said, that's the destiny trap. Zifeng, as a sword cultivator, wants to detach himself from everything, and the way of heaven gave him the destiny roulette, which is equivalent to putting a shackle on him. The destiny roulette is a great opportunity for others, but for Zifeng, it is equivalent to trapping him in a prison. The appearance of the roulette of destiny made Zifeng's combat power increase several times or even dozens of times in an instant. Generally, sword cultivators have tasted the sweetness and will no longer be able to do without it. But with it, Zifeng's kendo will be branded with the symbol of heaven, and he will never be able to escape from heaven in the future. Therefore, if he wants to be free from bondage, he needs to break through this destiny roulette and get rid of the shackles of destiny. Boom! As soon as Long Chen's voice fell, there was an explosion, and the vision behind Yu Zifeng exploded, turning into endless fragments of destiny. Suddenly, Yu Zifeng's hands formed a seal, and the fragments of destiny scattered behind him did not disperse so much, but gathered together under the traction of Yu Zifeng, gradually forming a long sword. The long sword was fragmented, and the traces of splicing were too obvious. However, with Yu Zifeng's pulling, the long sword kept merging. It seemed that it would not be long before it would condense into a flawless long sword. Bai Shirshir was stunned, although she knew that Yu Zifeng was terrifying, but she did not expect that Yu Zifeng was so terrifying that he would crush the roulette of destiny and condense a new vision according to his intentions. Domineering. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the destiny roulette behind Gu Yang, Li Qi, Song Mingyuan, Xia Chen, Bai Xiaola and others also began to vibrate. Obviously, their vision was about to awaken. The vision behind Gu Yang, Li Qi and Song Mingyuan trembled, the dragon pattern appeared, and the blood was soaring to the sky. Although they didn't know what their vision was, Long Chen knew that their vision must have been injected with dragon souls, and in the end they should it is in the shape of a dragon. Although Xia Chen also has dragon blood and condensed dragon-shaped runes, but on the edge of his vision, there are Taoist runes, which light up the entire circle of destiny roulette. In Bai Xiaola's destiny roulette, 2 pupils appeared, and various patterns appeared in the pupils. Even Long Chen didn't dare to stare at the patterns all the time, and it was easy to be led into hallucinations. With the appearance of 2 scorpions, the destiny roulette trembled violently, giving birth to a pair of scorpions again, and then another pair of scorpions. When the 8th pair of eyes appeared, neither Long Chen nor Bai Shirshir dared to look at them. Each pair of eyes alone would be shocking. When so many eyes appeared, it would be dizzy and weird. Boom boom boom. With the passage of time, after half an hour, the wheel of destiny has shown a posture of blooming everywhere, and more people, the vision has begun to awaken. Shirshir, does your vision have a name? Long Chen asked. It's still early. The awakening of the vision of destiny is divided into 3 stages. We are now in the preliminary awakening, and the vision of the preliminary awakening requires us to link with the vision and communicate with each other. When the 2 fit together to a certain extent, it will enter a deep awakening. At that time, my vision will enter a stage of rapid growth. If my power can withstand its power and reach a balance, we will awaken new supernatural powers. After deep awakening, it is fully awakened, and the vision after complete awakening will tell us its name. Only by calling out its name can it be considered complete fusion. Bai Shirshir laughed. So complicated? This is what Long Chen didn't expect. However, the most difficult part of awakening the vision is the first step. The rest is to grind with time and patience. But even if it is a preliminary awakening, my strength can still increase by more than 10 times. Bai Shishir was a little excited. Typical. So strong. Long Chen was startled. Chapter 5206. Looking at Long Chen's shocked appearance, Bai Shishir smiled. I want to become stronger, Sister Qing Xian said. Let me take good care of you during her absence. Yu Qingxian planned to comprehend the statue of Danzu in the academy. She didn't know that the statue was herself 1,000 generations ago, and she didn't know that the so-called Danzu was Emperor Dan. Proclaimed emperor, so only Danzu can be used instead. Yu Qingxian knew that Long Chen was about to rush to the Great Wilderness, and also knew that before going to the Great Wilderness, she had to go to the Dragon Territory, but she always felt that something was calling her on the statue, and she was not stupid. How could she not see that Long Chen had her things hiding from her? Although she knew that Long Chen didn't say, there was a reason why he didn't say it, and knew that Long Chen really loved her, but she couldn't resist that instinct, so she wanted to comprehend here. She was also reluctant to leave Long Chen, so she told Bai Shishir to take good care of Long Chen. Bai Shishir thought Yu Qingxian was angry at the time, but now she happily accepts this glorious mission. Boom! At this moment, there was a loud noise, and Bai Shishir exclaimed. She saw the fully integrated giant sword behind Yu Zifeng burst into pieces. Failed. Bai Shishir's voice trembled. If he failed, the blow to Yu Zifeng must be huge. No, this was his original plan. This guy is so perverted. Long Chen saw the fragments of the long sword and was slowly integrating into Yu Zifeng's body. Long Chen originally thought that Yu Zifeng would compress the roulette of destiny into a weapon, completely control it, and use it for his own use. Unexpectedly, compressing the roulette of destiny into a weapon and then crushing it, merging it with oneself, and making the force of destiny become part of the body, this is a kind of ultimate control. Long Chen couldn't help thinking to himself, fortunately this guy is his brother. If there is such an enemy, it would be terrible. Boom! More and more people have awakened to the vision. After Bai Shishir was excited, he calmed down and started to meditate again, taking advantage of this time to calm down and consolidate his strength that had skyrocketed due to the awakening of the vision. Long Chen is not idle, others are awakening visions. He began to study the 8th volume of the Great Brahma Sutra. Although Long Chen has learned the 8th volume of the Great Brahma Sutra, but at that time Long Chen was in a state of rage. Many processes have been recorded and not clear. He needs to reconsolidate. In Long Chen's mind, runes appeared one after another, but Long Chen did not dare to recite them, because once recited, the power of flames between heaven and earth would be summoned in an instant, which would affect everyone's perception. At this time, Long Chen calmed down, looked at the runes carefully, and recited silently in his heart. As a result, after reading a few words silently, Long Chen suddenly felt the blood surge, the killing intent rose, and he stopped immediately. The 8th volume of my Great Brahma Sutra is full of destructive power. Either you don't use it or you use it, you will destroy the sky and destroy the earth, and you will never die. Looking at this situation, if the whole volume of the Great Brahma Sutra is recited, all the flame power of Huolinger and I will be drained. My dear, isn't this going to perish with the enemy? Long Chen's heart beat wildly. He didn't dare to recite it silently, but he read the complete scriptures. He silently calculated that, according to this superposition method, after the last scriptures were recited, all of his and Huolinger's power would be exhausted. The most terrifying thing is that, under the blessing of the will to destroy, the laws of heaven and earth must submit to Long Chen. As long as the voice of Long Chen can reach, all the flame elements will be summoned. The energy between heaven and earth will be thousands of times that of Long Chen and Huolinger combined. If Long Chen detonates it, Long Chen can't imagine what level of power it will be. No, let's see if we can do it in sections, otherwise we will die together. Long Chen's heart was awe-inspiring. The 8th volume of the Great Brahma Sutra can't be played like this. Long Chen kept trying, under different syllables, trying to segment. I have to say, with the blessing of the 7 treasure glazed glass tree, it would be extremely easy to comprehend anything. Long Chen only failed a dozen times and successfully found the node of the first paragraph. This paragraph of scripture occupies 1/3 of the entire scripture. Long Chen estimated that it should be within the range that he can bear. Long Chen continued to study and quickly found the second node. What surprised Long Chen was that the second node was almost exactly 2/3 of the scriptures. However, according to Long Chen's estimation, if 2 passages of scriptures are recited together, the terrifying power seems to have exceeded his control. If one can't get it right, he will die. Even if he doesn't die, he will be seriously injured. The second paragraph, let's keep it. As for all the scriptures, forget it, use it all, and you have to take 10 lives. For the entire passage of scriptures, Long Chen will not consider it for the time being. The terrifying power of destruction will destroy him together. After the Great Brahma Sutra was not considered, Long Chen began to comprehend the 8-star battle body. Long Chen can barely summon the 8-star battle body, but there are still many flaws. When the 8 stars are connected to form a star ring, the linkage between them is still stagnant, and the flow of the power of the stars is not smooth enough in some places. The most important thing is that this kind of flaw will not only seriously affect the strength of the 8-star combat body, but also cause a huge load on the body, and if one gets it wrong, it will hurt oneself. With the blessing of the 7-treasure glazed glass tree, Long Chen quickly found the reason. The problem was the 8th star. Niechongxing is formed by Long Chen with Niechongdan, as well as a large amount of the power of Tianhua and Tianlei. Although, when the 8 stars are connected, the power of Tianhua and Tianlei will instantly penetrate the entire star ring. But except for the 8th star, the other 7 stars have no intimacy with the power of Tianhua and Tianlei, and the degree of fit is extremely low, which leads to a blockage when the power of Nirvana Chongxing is transmitted. When the problem was discovered, everything became simple. Long Chen began to introduce the power of thunder and fire into other stars to form the seed of thunder and fire, so that they also have this power, so that they would no longer reject the power of thunder and fire. It didn't take long for Long Chen's 8 stars to be connected end to end. The energy was connected, and there was no trace of stagnation. At this time, the 8 stars were fighting without any flaws. Boom! Just when Long Chen was excited, there was a sudden loud noise, which woke Long Chen up, and Long Chen exited from the closed state, and suddenly saw countless figures covering the sky and rushing towards the academy. The world was penetrated by a dragon claw. The pressure of the vast imperial way came, and the whole world seemed to be crushed, and the breath of death filled the entire academy in an instant. Enemy attack. There was chaos in Lingshao Academy, and someone screamed in horror. Boom! The dragon claw that shattered the enchantment of Lingshao Academy struck again. The huge dragon claw covered the entire academy, and at the same time, a roar of rage came. Long Chen, you who kill thousands of knives, dare to slaughter my Minglong clan's arrogance. Today the old man will slaughter you all over the courtyard. Dragon Blood Legion, fight. Seeing the dragon's claws attack, the emperor's prestige is agitated, and the dragon dust slams, like a bolt of lightning, rushing to the sky. Too late to summon the 8-star battle body, a palm shot. The dragon scales cover the whole body, and the 10-character text appears in the palm, recklessly. Dragon Claw. Chapter 5207. Boom! With a loud bang, Long Chen's big hand slapped on the dragon's claws that covered the sky. The universe resonated, the void cracked, and a roar came from the endless rain of blood. The sound of the roar was the owner of the dragon claw, only to see its dragon claw smashed by Long Chen's palm. The Minglong family is so courageous. If you dare to come to my Lingshao Academy to be wild, are you not afraid that I will destroy your Minglong family? Long Chen looked at the void, and his voice shook the sky. Boom! At this moment, among the fragments of the enchantment exploded, one figure appeared like a ghost. When these powerhouses appeared, even with Long Chen's calmness, his pupils could not help shrinking. God! In the square, the disciples of the academy saw those figures, felt their terrifying aura, and their scalps tingled. Countless creatures attacked, and their cultivation base was the worst, and they were also at the level of the 5 meridians heavenly sage. The person that Long Chen had just attacked was the half-step human sovereign from the Minglong family. Long Chen used the Emperor's blood seal. This move had a great effect on all dragon creatures. Although the half-step emperor of the Minglong family was terrifying, he still suffered a big loss. Long Chen was just about to pursue the victory and kill that guy. When he saw so many strong people appearing, Long Chen's face suddenly changed. Boom! At this moment, a vast blood surged into the sky. Long Chen was overjoyed, and the Lord of the Palace took action. Buzz, however, at the moment when the Lord of the Palace broke out of the sky, a divine picture appeared above the void, shrouding the Lord of the Palace. When he saw the divine picture, Long Chen exclaimed. The divine map was made up of 8 maps, and he recognized one of them, which had a world drawn on it, which was exactly what the Cold Sky territory looked like. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Let me see how you can break through this 8-domain god map that gathers the power of the 8 domains of Brahma. The void trembled, 8 figures appeared at the same time, and the vast imperial aura circulated. These 8 people turned out to be 8 emperor-level powerhouses. And they were wearing Brahma Pill Valley costumes, and their whole body was full of belief in the divine brilliance. Each of the 8 people held a corner of the 8 realms god figure. Obviously, they had been preparing for a long time, waiting for the Lord of the Palace to appear. As soon as the Lord of the Palace appeared, he was shrouded in the divine map of the 8 domains. The figure of the Lord of the Palace disappeared instantly, and he was included in the divine map. When the Lord of the Palace was caught in the trap, Long Chen's heart suddenly sank. The enemy's attack was well prepared, and it was considered a no-brainer. Obviously, this was a long-planned attack. Boom! Suddenly, the entire academy trembled, and the long sword was erected on the top of Lingshao Academy. At a critical moment, Bai Letian summoned the Lingshao Divine Sword. However, as soon as the Lingshao Divine Sword appeared, above the 9 heavens, the divine image circulated, covering the entire sky. Picture of Brahma, Long Chen's heart froze. The Brahma god figure Long Chen has seen too many, but it is the first time that Long Chen has seen it. Above the Brahma god figure, there is a phantom of Brahma. Obviously, the level of this god figure, dragon dust, has never been seen. Boom! The divine light of the Lingshao divine sword pierced into the sky, centered on the Brahma god figure. The Brahma divine figure shuddered violently, the swirling runes, the power of belief circulated, against the divine might of the Lingshao divine sword. No, they want to use the power of faith to fight against the power of luck. Bai Lishan's face changed. The Lingshao divine sword was an artifact of luck, but today's Lingshao Academy is in a period of decline. The power of luck against the power of faith is very disadvantageous. For a time, it was unable to penetrate the Brahma god map. Master Dean, open the barrier and protect everyone based on the Lingshao divine sword. Long Chen shouted loudly. Before the opponent took action, they had already calculated the 2 strongest cards in Lingshao Academy. One was the Lord of the Palace, the other was the Excalibur. They all made arrangements in advance. The Excalibur and the Lord of the Palace were targeted. The Academy is in danger. Boom! Just when everyone panicked, there was a loud noise from the 8 regions god map in the distance. The whole world trembled violently, and Long Chen hurriedly looked into the distance. Puff! The 8 powerful human emperors holding the 8 regions divine map, and at the same time, blood spurted wildly, and their faces showed fear. They could not imagine that the Lord of the Palace was trapped in the divine map, and there was such a terrifying resistance. Seeing this scene, Long Chen was overjoyed. The 8 powerful emperors holding the 8 regions god map may not be able to suppress the Lord of the Palace. As long as they hold on until the Lord of the Palace breaks the seal, everything will be over. The 8 powerful emperors shouted at the same time, and the humanoid vision behind them stretched open, daring not to be careless, and fully supporting the 8 regions god map. Everyone in Lingshao Academy returned to Lingshao Square immediately. Long Chen shouted loudly, and before the enemy made a full shot, he needed to focus on protecting everyone. When hearing Long Chen's call, the strong men from all over the academy rushed to Lingshao Square, but some people were stunned by this scene, looking at so many strong men above their heads, ignoring Long Chen's call at all, fled directly to the outside of the academy. However, these people had just escaped from the academy. When they saw the endless figures in the distance, They were instantly frightened. They realized at this time that the entire academy had been blocked, and there was no way to escape. They immediately turned around and fled to Lingxiao Academy, but as soon as they left, the order from the 8 powerful emperors came from the academy. The hall master was sealed, the Lingxiao divine sword was locked, and everyone shot together to destroy Lingxiao Academy at the fastest speed. Boom! Following the old man's order, the powerhouses in the periphery rushed to Lingxiao Academy like a tide. Boom boom boom. Their aura exploded, crushing the rocks, and those strong men who wanted to escape back to the academy were crushed into powder in the howls of despair. How come there are so many people? Guoran was also considered a belligerent, but seeing so many strong men, his face turned pale with fright. Among these powerhouses, there are countless races such as human race, monster race, demon race, Pluto race, dragon race, blood race, etc. These strong people are all strong people above Sanmai Heavenly Sage, half-step people who are rarely seen on weekdays. The Emperor, there are hundreds of thousands. They charged with endless killing intent, and even the Dragon Blood Legion, who was used to seeing big battles, couldn't help but tremble with fear. Other powerhouses were horrified to find that they couldn't even move due to their coercion. Buzz. At this moment, a scabbard appeared on the square, and in the trembling of Lingxiao Hall, a realm centered on them, rapidly unfolded, and enveloped everyone. Call, a small enchantment, you want to stop us? It's just wishful thinking, Longchen, you kill my demons, and today we will destroy your whole family. A demon half-step emperor, holding a magic sword, pointed at the knot. Jia Chong came, his face was green and fangs, and he was as ferocious as a ghost. Seeing his face that was rapidly drawn closer, the disciples of the academy screamed in horror. Boom! When the magic sword was about to touch the barrier, a big hand grabbed it. Chapter 5208. The man's big hand was covered with blood-colored dragon scales, and Long Chen summoned the dragon-blooded battle body and appeared in front of the people. Long Chen held the magic sword with one hand, his long hair fluttered, and the blood-colored cloak behind him floated, like a dragon god descending into the world, arrogant for 9 days. When the disciples of the First Academy saw this scene, they immediately felt their blood boil. At first, they stood opposite him, and they were full of fear for Long Chen. Now, when Long Chen stood with them, at that moment, Long Chen brought them an endless sense of security. Destroy me all over the door? What a big breath, you'll see what you can kill. Long Chen snorted and suddenly kicked. The half-step human sovereign of the demon race saw that Long Chen grabbed the long sword and tried to retake it, but he didn't move and suddenly felt bad. At this time, he held the sword with both hands. If he resisted with one hand, the long sword was likely to be taken away by Long Chen in an instant. He clenched his teeth sharply and sank into his dantian. The endless demonic energy actually condensed a demon in his lower abdomen. Blood shield, he will use the shield to resist Long Chen's kick and shatter Long Chen's big hand with the power of the Emperor. Boom! With a loud bang, the shield of the demon powerhouse failed to block Long Chen's kick, and the lower body was kicked out by Long Chen, and the blood mist filled the sky, leaving only the upper body. I didn't expect that after the power of the 8 stars was unblocked, it would actually improve my physical body so much. Long Chen was also surprised. The demon powerhouse in front of him is not the 2 half-step human emperors of the academy. He is a real master, even stronger than Han Tianai. If it was Long Chen when he was in the Cold Sky territory, this kick would not even threaten this guy. Long Chen had planned to shake his breath and take his long sword, but he did not expect that he would take his lower body with one foot. Kicked up. It was only then that Long Chen realized that the power of the 8 stars had unknowingly improved his power of flesh and blood. Even if the power of the stars was not turned on, the power of this foot could be so terrifying under the dragon blood battle. The power of Puff. Long Chen kicked the lower body of the demon strongman with one foot, and suddenly felt that the power of the demon strongman disappeared. He held the sword body and slashed violently. Qin Yijian split in half. Long Chen killed the demon powerhouse with a sword, reversed the long sword, and threw it into the distance. Long Chen roared in the sky, "Brothers of the Dragon Blood Legion, It's time to show your fangs and show the power that scares the whole world. The Dragon Blood Legion will become the first legion of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Show your long swords, cut off the heads of the enemies, use their blood to dye our shirts red, and use their mourning to compose a battle song that only belongs to us. Long Chen's voice reverberated between the heavens and the earth, and all the worlds trembled for it. Long Chen's voice was like the horn of the war being blown by the emperor himself. Kill! The dragon-blooded warriors roared into the sky, the heaven and the earth roared, the universe changed color, and everyone pulled out their swords, so they walked out of the enchantment without hesitation. Just that monstrous fighting intent. Boom! In the roar of Long Chen, a punch exploded the shield of a half-step human emperor-level powerhouse and pierced the opponent's chest with both hands. Laugh! It was a giant human-shaped beast that was torn into 2 pieces by Long Chen. The bloody scene was terrifying, but in the eyes of the Academy disciples, this scene made their blood boil. Puff! Long Chen just tore apart a half-step human emperor, and a head the size of a mountain in the distance fell from the air, and the dragon's blood poured down like a waterfall. That is... People were shocked, their eyes were attracted, their eyes moved away from Long Chen, and suddenly they saw a man with a long sword standing on a headless dragon corpse above the 9 heavens, and the man's figure was blurred for a moment. Pff! Suddenly, a troll trembled, and a crack appeared from the center of its eyebrows to the crotch of the trousers, and the cracks were separated. This time, people could clearly see the appearance of the figure. Yuezi Peak, people exclaimed. The disciples of the branch didn't know about Yu Zifeng before, and they didn't care about this person before Long Chen appeared. After Long Chen took over the academy, the disciples of the branch began to pay attention to the Dragon Blood Legion, and only then did they know who the 4 commanders were. And when Yu Zifeng beheaded 2 half-step human emperors in a row, they were completely stunned. They never thought that the Dragon Blood Legion, which they had always looked down on before, actually hid such a terrifying figure. Puff puff. When they only saw the appearance of Yu Zifeng, the people of Yu Zifeng had disappeared, flashing several times in a row. Each sword fell. There must be a half-step human emperor-level powerhouse killed. 1 sword will never fail. The terrifying half-step human sovereign powerhouse, in front of him, is like chopping melons and vegetables, and has no power to fight back. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded, and a figure wearing a battle armor appeared. The battle knife slashed into the sky, and a half-step human sovereign was shocked to the point of spitting blood, and the weapon in his hand was forcibly smashed. Wow, when did I become so strong? Guoran shouted excitedly. He didn't even know how he woke up to the vision. He just felt that he fell asleep in a daze when he was enlightened, and when he woke up, there were more visions in the vision of destiny, a giant egg. The energy of this giant egg is endless, as if it will never be exhausted. All the parts of his battle armor are turned on to the strongest state, and he can't feel the consumption in the roulette of destiny. You know, after awakening the destiny roulette, Guoran's battle armor began to transform, using the power of destiny as the fuel to drive his battle armor. Originally, his battle armor was built on the basis of the energy continuously supplied by the destiny roulette. According to the original standard, if half of his armor was activated, he could fight for at most a stick of incense, and if activated 80%, you can fight for 10 breaths of time. If they are all activated, they can last for at most 1 breath, and the energy in the Wheel of Destiny will be exhausted in an instant. However, at this time, he found that the energy in the Wheel of Destiny is almost endless, just like using a bamboo tube to pump water in the sea, and he can't see its consumption at all. With this discovery, Guoran was so excited that he almost danced on the spot. He held a sword and slashed wildly. Couldn't do much damage to him. After getting this discovery, Guoran suddenly became unscrupulous. If he hadn't wanted to command the team to fight, he would have rushed into the center of the enemy at this time. Yu Zifeng, Guoran, Xiachen, Gu Yang, Li Qi, Song Mingyuan, Bai Xiaola and others distributed around the enchantment, using the most powerful lethality to defeat their opponents and create a buffer space for the Dragon Blood warriors. Yu Zifeng and others were too terrifying. They killed the enemy in an instant and caught them off guard. The charge was interrupted, and the offensive was suddenly slowed down. With this slowdown, the Dragon Blood Legion immediately completed the formation and surrounded the entire enchantment. When he saw that the battle formation of the Dragon Blood Legion was completed, Long Chen suddenly rushed towards the 8 great human sovereigns in the distance like a bolt of lightning. Chapter 5209. Seeing that the situation here has stabilized, Long Chen immediately rushed to the 8 powerful human sovereigns in the Brahma Pill Valley. Long Chen can see that these 8 people have injected all their power into the 8-domain god map. In order to trap the Lord of the Palace, they have gone all out. If Long Chen raids one person at this time, it is easy to hit them together. You can get rid of one if you get it done. I have to say that the Lord of the Palace is too strong. The combined efforts of the 8 great human sovereigns, together with the assistance of the 8 regions god map, can barely suppress the Lord of the Palace. Long Chen has already thought about it. Even if it cannot cause harm to them, as long as they are disturbed, the Lord of the Palace may seize the opportunity to break the ban in an instant. However, just as Long Chen moved, the void suddenly burst open, and then 4 black giants appeared in front of everyone. It was a spear that covered the sky. The spear tip alone was as big as a mountain. The spear tip pierced through the void, slowly emerging, and a hair-raising divine might radiated. It's the Hell Spear! Seeing the huge spear, Long Chen couldn't help shouting, "Hurry up and stop them, it is the nemesis of all enchantments." Long Chen didn't care to attack the 8 emperors, and when he saw a spear appearing he rushed towards a spear like a bolt of lightning, holding the Qinkuan cauldron, and slammed it towards the spear. At the same time, Long Chen's other one in his hand, holding the Yaoyue cauldron, he charged towards the nearest Hell Spear. During the time he spent with Leng Yueyan and Ming Songyue in the underworld, Long Chen learned a lot about the underworld. He had heard that there was a weapon in the underworld that was specially designed to destroy the law of enchantment, called the Hell Spear. This Hell Spear is made of the unique immortal gold in hell, and it is also made with the fusion of demon blood. It has extremely terrifying destructive power to all enchantments other than the laws of hell. At that time, Leng Yueyan also showed Long Chen the Hell Spear, but the Hell Spear was only Zhangshu, not so huge at all. If this spear is stabbed on the barrier will immediately burst. There are many ordinary disciples in the barrier, and there are countless people who are not strong in cultivation, instantly crushed by that terrifying pressure. Boom! With a loud bang, the Qinkuan cauldron smashed on top of a Hell Evil Spear, and the Hell Evil Spear instantly turned into powder, followed by a loud noise in the distance. The Yaoyue cauldron slammed into the Hell Evil Spear, and the Demon Moon Ding and the Hell Spear slanted at the same time. Long Chen was startled, and with all his strength, he failed to knock the Hell Evil Spear into the air. Although the Hell Evil Spear strayed from its original trajectory, it still stabbed at the enchantment. "Pass it to me, Buzz," Yu Zifeng shouted, and the long sword in his hand fell, precisely on the head of the evil spear of hell. When Yu Zifeng's fierce and unparalleled sword failed to cut off the spearhead, but brought it even more crooked, deviated from the original route, and landed on the open space in the distance. Boom! With a loud bang, the Hell Evil Spear was so heavy that it smashed through the ground and sank into the ground. Boom! There was an explosion in the distance, and I saw Guoran holding a sword and slammed into the Hell Spear. Guoran's double sword and the battle armor exploded at the same time, blood spurted wildly and flew out. However, Guoran's blow, although it failed to shatter the Hell Spear, the blow that gathered all the power also changed the direction of the Hell Spear and landed on the edge of the square. With a loud noise, the Hell Spear was on the ground. A large hole was left on the top and sank into the ground. Heavenly Eye Shifting Objects, by Xiaola stopped drinking. Sanhua pupil activated, space ripples flowed. He was using the power of space to make the Hell Evil Spear turn. Bai Xiaola could also see that this evil spear from hell was too heavy to be seen. He couldn't catch this thing at all. As long as he could make it turn and not touch the barrier, he would win. Kakaka. The speed of hell's evil spear is not too fast. When it was swallowed by Xiaola's spatial ripples, the spatial ripples burst open like a mirror in an instant. Boom! The spear in Gu Yang's hand came out of his hand, like a bolt of lightning stabbing at the evil spear of hell. As a result, there was an explosion, but the evil spear of hell did not move at all. Long Chen was in a hurry, and he discovered that he underestimated the power of this giant hell evil spear. Except for the Qianquan cauldron, there is no weapon that can do it. Although it is just a rough spear, the material used is absolutely extraordinary. Even the Yaoyue cauldron of the human emperor's divine soldier can't help it, so you know how strong it is. However, Long Chen is on the side of the enchantment, and the evil spear of hell is on the other side. Long Chen has no time to rescue, and can only watch the evil spear of hell stab into the enchantment. Boom, a broadsword was slashed on top of the giant spear, and the broadsword shattered, but the spear was attracted by the power of this sword. White Vice President Long Chen was both surprised and delighted. The person who shot it was none other than Bai Shishi's father, Bai Zhantong. He was surrounded by 6 heavenly veins and dragon energy, and a strange creature appeared behind him. The shadow of the strange creature behind him dimmed in an instant. Boom! At the critical moment, Bai Zhantong tried his best to shake the giant spear crooked, but at this time it was too close to the barrier, and the tip of the spear was still drawn against the barrier. When the tip of the spear touched the barrier was drawn out. A gap. Fortunately, the thickness of the enchantment is amazing, and it has not been completely broken down. Boom, the giant spear fell to the ground, smashing the ground into a big pit, and the entire barrier shook for a while, and at this time, countless strong men rushed towards the barrier like crazy. Totally block, Long Chen stopped drinking, and now that the enchantment is damaged, one can't stand the heavy blow. As long as the enchantment is not hit hard, the wound will be repaired soon. Kill. At that moment, the dragon blood warriors roared into the sky. At this time, they could no longer passively defend, and needed to take the initiative to attack. Because of passive defense, the pressure they faced would be transmitted to the enchantment. At this time, the enchantment was very weak and abnormal. Can't take any pressure. Puff puff puff. When the dragon blood warriors gave up their defense and took the initiative to attack, they instantly turned into demons who harvested life. The Dragon Blood Legion fought hard, like a super terrifying meat grinder. Countless stumps fluttered while the long sword was waving. The entire battlefield was filled with blood mist. At that moment, the whole world seemed to have turned into hell in an instant. The Dragon Blood warriors fought hard, and the soldiers of the medical regiment supported him in the rear. Once someone was injured, a powerful recovery technique would befall him. The soldiers of the medical regiment have powerful healing methods and the blessing of dragon blood. Under the traction of the blood, they can even transfer the damage of the dragon blood soldiers to themselves. The medical warriors have terrifying vitality and recovery ability. With them, the dragon blood warriors will fight frantically without any worries. Brothers, what are we doing? When is it our turn to need someone's protection? What about our dignity? Our glory? When are we so useless that we can only watch others desperately? Yi Ziwen would rather die here in battle, and would never want to live in secret. Among the disciples in the branch, Yi Ziwen suddenly let out a terrifying roar. He resolutely rushed to the barrier regardless of the strange eyes of others. Chapter 52:10 Long Chen frantically slashed and killed, and he found that the Emperor of the 6 Meridians could kill him by various means under his full strength. But in the face of the Emperor of the 7 Meridians, he was powerless. Long Chen had provoked the patriarchs of the 2 clans to show their flaws several times and continued to attack them ruthlessly, but at most they could only suffer some injuries. If he wanted to kill them, it was almost impossible. Although there are many strong people here, Long Chen has never been afraid of group battles, and even the attacks of those weak people will create opportunities for him. Long Chen knew that even with the help of Dragon Bone Shiyue, he still had no chance to face the powerhouse of the 7 Veins Emperor level. Long Chen also saw the horror of the 7 Veins Emperor. If there is no Dragon Bone Evil Moon, it is his limit to deal with the 6-Veined Emperor with his own strength alone. From this point of view, although Long Chen has greatly improved, compared with the silver-haired residual space, he still has an unreachable distance. That's the end? That's right, your life is over. The patriarch of the Golden Lion clan roared. At this time, it had more than a dozen big gashes, and one eye was chopped off. As much embarrassment as you want. And the patriarch of the Shirling clan was not much stronger. Both forearms were completely shattered, his whole body was cut into pits, and strange liquid oozes out. There were 70 or 80 strong men who besieged Long Chen, and now there are only a dozen left, and most of them are wounded. There are horrible corpses on the ground, and the scene is extremely horrifying. My life ends here? You are really interesting. Long Chen looked at the patriarch of the Golden Lion clan, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Long Chen glanced at Huolinger, and found that Huolinger hadn't left the customs, so Long Chen didn't bother her. He put away the Kiel Xiegu, folded his hands together, with the index finger and middle finger pointing to the sky, and the other fingers together, placed on Long Chen's left hand. And on the back of his right hand, a fairy script appeared at the same time. It was a word, curse, which Long Chen didn't know. It was told to him by Chinku and Ding. In other words, it was a word evolved from the first generation of immortal script in Jiuli immortal script. When the word mantra appears, a powerful spiritual pressure is released. This kind of spiritual pressure is different from breath pressure, but similar to the energy between the soul and will. It cannot be seen or touched, but it can be sensed. When the spiritual pressure was released, the strong people present couldn't help being shocked, because they had never felt this kind of energy fluctuation. Boom! Suddenly the void twisted and the space oscillated, followed by a terrifying coercion, and the huge figure of the silver-winged demon emerged. Boom, boom, boom. When the silver-winged demon appeared, the terrifying demonic power surged, covering the sky and covering the earth. Wherever the demonic power went, including the Chu River in the distance, one felt a tremor in the soul and stiffened the whole body. That is, seeing the silver-winged demon, Chuha looked horrified. He had entered the mysterious place before, felt this terrifying aura, and was hurt by its aura. He didn't dare to stay and fled back. He almost lost half of it. Life. Since then, Chu's strength has turned from prosperity to decline. From then on, he strictly forbade the strong in Tianyu City to explore the mysterious place, and no one could violate his orders unless someone was stronger than him. However, what Chuha didn't know was that the green-haired parrot was responsible for the injury when he explored the mysterious place. It discovered that Chuha was coming, and was afraid that he would snatch the silver-winged demons, so it intentionally aroused the demonic energy to attack Chu River. When Long Chen came, because Long Chen's aura was too weak, it didn't sense it at all. When Long Chen appeared in front of it, it was too late. On the one hand, the energy of these silver-winged demon corpses is almost used up by it. On the other hand, if you want to activate it, you need to prepare in advance. Long Chen will not give it time to prepare. Now that Chuha saw the silver-winged demon and felt its terrifying aura, his soul still trembled. This aura was a nightmare that had troubled him for countless years. As soon as the silver-winged demon came out, the demon power shook the sky, and the universe trembled. The moment the silver-winged demon opened its eyes, the billowing demon energy set off a shocking wave. Long Chen frantically slashed and killed, and he found that the Emperor of the Six Meridians could use various means to kill him when he exploded with all his strength. But in the face of the Emperor of the Seven Meridians, he was powerless. Long Chen had provoked the patriarchs of the two clans to show their flaws several times and continued to attack them ruthlessly, but at most they could only suffer some injuries. If he wanted to kill them, it was almost impossible. Although there are many strong people here, Long Chen has never been afraid of group battles, and even the attacks of those weak people will create opportunities for him. Long Chen knew that even with the help of Dragon Bone Shiyue, he still had no chance to face the powerhouse of the Seven Veins Emperor level. Long Chen also saw the horror of the Seven Veins Emperor. If there is no Dragon Bone Evil Moon, it is his limit to deal with the Six-Veined Emperor with his own strength alone. From this point of view, although Long Chen has greatly improved, compared with the silver-haired residual space, he still has an unreachable distance. That's the end? That's right, your life is over. The patriarch of the Golden Lion clan roared. At this time, it had more than a dozen big gashes, and one eye was chopped off. As much embarrassment as you want. And the patriarch of the Shirling clan was not much stronger. Both forearms were completely shattered, his whole body was cut into pits, and strange liquid oozes out. There were 70 or 80 strong men who besieged Long Chen, and now there are only a dozen left, and most of them are wounded. There are horrible corpses on the ground, and the scene is extremely horrifying. My life ends here? You are really interesting. Long Chen looked at the patriarch of the Golden Lion clan, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Long Chen glanced at Huolinger, and found that Huolinger hadn't left the customs, so Long Chen didn't bother her. He put away the Kiel Xieyu, folded his hands together, with the index finger and middle finger pointing to the sky, and the other fingers together, placed on Long Chen's left hand. And on the back of his right hand, a fairy script appeared at the same time. It was a word, curse, which Long Chen didn't know. It was told to him by Qingkuan Ding. In other words, it was a word evolved from the first generation of immortal script in Jiuli immortal script. When the word mantra appears, a powerful spiritual pressure is released. This kind of spiritual pressure is different from breath pressure, but similar to the energy between the soul and will. It cannot be seen or touched, but it can be sensed. When the spiritual pressure was released, the strong people present couldn't help being shocked, because they had never felt this kind of energy fluctuation. Boom! Suddenly the void twisted and the space oscillated, followed by a terrifying coercion, and the huge figure of the silver-winged demon appeared. Boom boom boom. When the silver-winged demon appeared, the terrifying demonic power surged, covering the sky and covering the earth. Wherever the demonic power went, including the Chu River in the distance, one felt a tremor in the soul and stiffened the whole body. That is, seeing the silver-winged demon, Chuha looked horrified. He had entered the mysterious place before, felt this terrifying aura, and was hurt by its aura. He didn't dare to stay and fled back. He almost lost half of it. Life. Since then, Chu's strength has turned from prosperity to decline. From then on, he strictly forbade the strong in Tianyu City to explore the mysterious place, and no one could violate his orders unless someone was stronger than him. However, what Chuha didn't know was that the green-haired parrot was responsible for the injury when he explored the mysterious place. It discovered that Chuha was coming, and was afraid that he would snatch the silver-winged demons, so it intentionally aroused the demonic energy to attack Chu River. When Long Chen came, because Long Chen's aura was too weak, it didn't sense it at all. When Long Chen appeared in front of it, it was too late. On the one hand, the energy of these silver-winged demon corpses is almost used up by it. On the other hand, if you want to activate it, you need to prepare in advance. Long Chen will not give it time to prepare. Now that Chuha saw the silver-winged demon and felt its terrifying aura, his soul still trembled. This aura was a nightmare that had troubled him for countless years. As soon as the silver-winged demon came out, the demon power shook the sky, and the universe trembled. The moment the silver-winged demon opened its eyes, the billowing demon energy set off a shocking wave. Long Chen immediately jumped onto the head of the silver-winged sky demon, and the strong men of the Golden Lion clan and Stone Spirit clan saw that something was wrong and fled away quickly. They didn't know the silver-winged celestial demon, but the moment the silver-winged celestial demon opened its eyes, the breath of death enveloped its heart, and the instinct of life told them to run away. As soon as the imprint in Long Chen's hand changed, the silver-winged demon squatted down slowly and slapped the ground with a pair of giant claws. Boom! The ground trembled, and a black ripple emerged from its claws, spreading out in an instant, stirring up dust and smoke in the sky. Do not! The patriarch of the Golden Lion clan ran desperately, but no matter how fast it could not be as fast as the ripples, and it was swallowed by the ripples in an instant. Puff! Hit by that black ripple, the patriarch of the Golden Lion clan instantly shattered, and fragments of his body scattered all over the ground. Puff puff! After the black ripples passed, all the strong men on the battlefield seemed to be torn apart by a pair of invisible hands. The black ripples were like a life-threatening light, and even the seven-veined emperor could not resist. Seeing this scene, Chu He and others felt terrified even though they had won. They looked at Long Chen standing on top of the silver-winged demon with horror, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. The breath of the silver-winged demon aroused the most primitive fear in their souls. In front of the silver-winged demon, they didn't even have the courage to escape. Li Yunhua and other young disciples used to worship Long Chen extremely, but now, their hearts are full of endless fear. Perhaps it is because such a terrifying silver-winged demon has been controlled by Long Chen. Boom! After the silver-winged demon released this blow, its body collapsed. This blow exhausted all its vitality, and its body turned into rotten soil, blowing away with the wind. Ilgo, this thing is really useful. Unfortunately, it's only a one-time use. This blow, even Long Chen was stunned, there was only a trace of life left, and the casual blow had such terrifying power, so how strong is it when it's alive? Long Chen opened his hands, and the thunder net formed by thunderbolts collected all the broken corpses on the battlefield into the chaotic space, but Long Chen did not collect the corpses of the Shirling clan. Because their corpses were not flesh and blood, after they died, the energy in their bodies returned to the heavens and the earth almost instantly, and even the gem-like eyes that gathered their lives' strength dimmed. Obviously, if you want to seize their power, you need to pick out their eyeballs before they die. Long Chen only summed up this experience after going through this battle. Lost a puppet, but evened out all the enemies with one move. He couldn't win even if he tried his best. Once the puppet was released, Long Chen understood what the gap was. At the same time, he also understood why Kine Kunding let him cheat on that green-haired parrot. Obviously, Kine Kunding was well aware of the horror of this puppet. When Long Chen finished cleaning up the corpse, he had brought everyone to Long Chen. At this time, everyone's eyes were full of awe. He clasped his fists and saluted, "Your Excellency's kindness, I will never forget it in Tianyu City." Long Chen shook his head and said, "Senior, you are polite, the matter is not over yet. Organize the manpower, divide the troops into 2 groups, cut the weeds and roots, so as to avoid future troubles." Prompted by Long Chen, the strong men of Sky Feather City rushed out of their nests, heading straight for the lairs of Shirling and the Golden Lion clan. Chapter 52:11 Boom! Long Chen stopped drinking. The power of dragon blood erupted, a blood-colored halo squeezed around, the void exploded, and the 8 vortexes collapsed, revealing the figures of 8 old men. Puff puff puff. Under the rage of Long Chen, he directly detonated the dragon's blood and controlled the void, forcing the 8 people to show up. However, when Long Chen saw that the 8 people were 9-pulse heavenly saint-level powerhouses, he suddenly felt bad. With such a powerful strength of Long Chen, it is impossible for the enemy to only send 8 9-vessel heavenly saints to attack him, because that makes no sense at all. Although these 8 people are all from the Life Hunting clan, their attacks are fierce, but it is impossible to kill Long Chen with such power. These 8 people assassinated Long Chen, which was tantamount to courting death. When the identities of the 8 people were exposed, Long Chen stepped on the void, evoked endless phantoms, and rushed towards Yu Qingxian. Yu Qingxian pressed the barrier with both hands. At this time, her body was connected to the barrier, and she was at a critical moment. If she avoided the attack, the spell would be interrupted, and her previous efforts would be in vain. The most important thing is that when the spell is interrupted, the energy in the enchantment may be instantly unbalanced, causing the enchantment to burst into pieces. As a result, it is unknown how many people will die in the enchantment. Obviously, the enemy valued this and launched a raid, and this raid did not give them any time to react. Even Long Chen's keen perception failed. At that moment, Long Chen knew that the powerhouse of the Life Hunting clan had come to the designated location to launch a raid by teleportation. That is to say, the people who sent them here are proficient in the art of space, and only in this way can they avoid Long Chen's perception. Seeing Yu Qingxian in distress, Long Chen's head hummed, and at that moment, his killing intent was quickly ignited. Obviously, everything here is in the enemy's calculation. At this time, Long Chen Kong has all the strength but can't use it. The 2 people shot one after the other. Chen wants to kill them, and the power of one blow will kill them together with Yu Qingxian. Obviously, the person who made the layout is extremely clever, and every step is considered a complete strategy, and there is no omission. The whole battle is being led by the nose. Golden Lotus Bodyguard. At this moment, Bai Shishi's voice came from the outer battlefield, and endless golden runes were born from Yu Qingquan's feet. The golden runes turned into petals, wrapping Yu Qingxian heavily. Boom! 2 sharp swords were stabbed on the golden lotus. The golden lotus exploded and turned into golden powder, but Yu Qingxian inside the golden powder was safe and sound. The 2 people who shot were 2 half-step emperors. At this time, their faces were horrified. They could not imagine that the inconspicuous golden lotus actually blocked the full blow of the 2 of them. Kill her! The 2 half-step emperors saw that Long Chen was rushing towards him with boundless killing intent, and even Wan Dao wailed because of the killing intent. They shouted, 2 long swords, and stabbed Yu Qingxian again. Yu Qingxian was facing the 2 sharp swords. She looked at the countless pairs of frightened eyes below the barrier, sensing that the barrier was about to be repaired. If she withdraws her power at this time, everything will fail. She looked at Long Chen. He rushes in, but after all, he has to take a step at night. There was a hint of reluctance in her eyes, but her hands did not leave the barrier after all. She knew that she would die under their swords, but the barrier would be repaired at the moment she died, and the people inside the barrier will live. Sorry. Yu Qingxian looked at Long Chen, tears quietly blurring her eyes. She wanted to live, her heart was full of reluctance, but she had no choice. She couldn't watch so many people die in an instant. Puff! At this moment, a sharp sword light pierced through the void and shattered thousands of paths. One of the old men was chopped into powder by the sword light. It was Yu Zifeng in the distance. When he saw the scene here, he didn't care about his own safety. He used a sword to support him from a distance. After he supported him, he was hit by a bloody sword spit out by a demon-strong man. Blood spurted wildly. The scabbard of the left hand flew out, piercing the head of the demon-strong man, killing him. Yu Zifeng killed one of the half-step emperors of the life-hunting clan with 1 sword, while the other old man pierced Yu Qingquan's eyebrows with his long sword. Puff! Blood splashed, but this blood was not Yu Qingquan's, but Bai Shishi's. At the critical juncture, the golden lotus powder that had been smashed before quickly circulated, forming a strange symbol. The symbol flickered, and Bai Shishi in the outer battlefield disappeared in an instant, and appeared in front of Yu Qingxian, blocking this must with his body. Killing sword. Poetry. Yu Qingxian let out a heart-piercing scream. Bai Shishi opened her arms, the long sword pierced through her back, protruded out of her chest, and the blood on the tip of the sword slowly dripped onto Yu Qingquan's clothes. Die! Long Chen roared, and the sound was like a thunderous explosion. He slapped the old man's head with a palm, and the old man's head was instantly smashed by Long Chen. Long Chen's attack had already locked the old man, but the old man didn't care about his own life at all. Even if he died, he had to pull Yu Qingxian. When he stabbed with this sword, he didn't intend to live. Under Long Chen's rage, he still had to remain rational, because the long sword had already penetrated into Bai Shishi's body. If his power was too great, it would be passed on to Bai Shishi's body. Long Chen grabbed the old man's headless body and slowly pulled him away. The long sword left Bai Shishi's body. Long Chen held Bai Shishi carefully, and the blood had stained Long Chen's robe. Bai Shishi was hit hard. Bai Xiaola, Bai Shishi's mother, Bai Zhantong, Bai Letin, and others all raised their hearts to the throat. Not guaranteed. Bai Shishi's mother was as pale as paper. She wanted to rush over to see her daughter's injuries, but the battlefield was chaotic, there were too many enemies, and the Dragon Blood Legion couldn't stand the pressure, and more fish slipped through the net. They were distracted by the bloody battle of the Dragon Blood Legion and were almost stabbed by a spear. If Bai Xiaole's mother had not moved her with the pupil technique, she would have been seriously injured even if she hadn't died. Poetry. Long Chen hugged Bai Shishi, his voice trembled, there was fear in his eyes. Long Chen was afraid, he was afraid of losing Bai Shishi. At that moment, he thought of Yi Zhiqiu, the painful experience, he couldn't bear it the second time. Bai Shishi looked at Long Chen. Although her face was pale and bloodless, there was a sweet smile on the corner of her mouth. She reached out and touched Long Chen's cheek. You care about me so much? I'm so happy. Long Chen felt that the power of gold in Bai Shirshir was rapidly draining. Long Chen was so frightened that he hurriedly gave Bai Shirshir a few golden pills. Take a breath. Buzz. At this moment, the entire formation trembled violently, and the restoration of the formation was completed. Yu Qingxian looked at Bai Shirshir with a distressed expression. For a while, she didn't know what to say, and her tears couldn't stop falling. Sister, don't cry, I'm fine. Bai Shirshir comforted Yu Qingxian with a smile. She sacrificed her life to save Yu Qingxian because she didn't want to feel any guilt towards Yu Qingxian, just like Yu Qingxian sacrificed her life to save those people in the barrier. Voluntary. Summer morning, Long Chen handed Bai Shirshir to Yu Qingxian, and he let out a roar, terrifying killing intent, which made the ancients roar, and the heavens trembled. Mark me, everyone on the battlefield, and none of them want to live. Chapter 52:12 Long Chen's hands and clothes were covered with blood, which was Bai Shishi's blood. This blood instantly made Long Chen angry, made Long Chen crazy, and made Long Chen's killing intent soar to the sky. His hands are stained with the blood of his lover, and when he is a man, he cannot even protect his own woman. Then, for him, this is the cruelest torture in the world. That kind of pain, that kind of anger, that kind of feeling of tearing the heart and lungs, and the pain is unbearable, only Long Chen can understand it. At that moment, he felt the endless killing intent filling his chest. If he didn't release it, he would explode and die. However, before Xiachen responded, a cold voice came. What a big tone, even a little ant dares to be so outspoken? Who gave you the courage? The void trembled, and 3 figures appeared at the same time. When the 3 figures appeared, everyone's hearts sank in an instant. There were 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. The woman was carrying a guqin, a middle-aged man was carrying a chessboard, and the remaining man had a long sword hanging from his waist. His eyes were cold, and his breath was different from the human race. As soon as the 3 of them appeared, the endless imperial might continued to wash over the world, and even those in the barrier could feel the pressure that could almost crush their souls. Yi Ziwen and the others were already extremely uncomfortable when they were under the pressure of the half-buo human sovereign. Now that the 3 human sovereigns came, their scalps suddenly became numb, and they felt that their bodies gradually became unruly. And those disciples who rushed out of the enchantment, never had the opportunity to do it, and wanted to stand up desperately, were so overwhelmed by this terrifying human sovereign that they couldn't move at all. At that moment, countless people were desperate. At this moment, the 8 great human sovereigns of Brahma Pill Valley held the 8 regions god map and had completely controlled the situation. The 8 regions god map was calm and seemed to have completely suppressed the lord of the palace. 9 days above, the Lingxiao divine sword faced off against the Brahma god diagram. It was a contest between luck and faith, and they were mutually stalemate, and the winner could not be determined. Before the crisis came, Yu Qingxian repaired the enchantment by himself. The bravery of the Dragon Blood Legion gave people a glimpse of hope. As a result, the 3 emperors came, but this hope was ruthlessly shattered. Damn, I am the most useless dean in the history of the academy. Inside the barrier, Lu Chengkong clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He had the will to kill the enemy, but he had no power to kill the enemy. If he used his life to exchange for the safety of everyone, he would do it without hesitation. However, he has the realm, but has no strength. He hates his incompetence and cannot help everyone. As the dean, he feels that he is too useless. Don't worry, Dean Shinkong, with Dean Long Chen, everything is possible. Bai Let Ian held the scabbard of the Lingxiao divine sword, communicated with the Lingxiao temple, increased the strength of the enchantment to the extreme, and comforted Lu Chengkong Dao at the same time. Dean Long Chen can become the youngest dean in the history of Lingxiao Academy, and he is also the only one who has been recognized by the Lord of the Pure Court. His strength is not as simple as we see it on the surface. After Bai Lishan's reminder, Lu Chengkong saw that the 3 emperors came, and Long Chen did not have a trace of panic or fear. All he had was the endless anger and violent killing intent. Looking at the back of Long Chen, I don't know why, the seemingly thin body seems to hide the power of destroying the world, which can bring people an endless sense of security. Long Chun looked at the three people coldly, and black ripples appeared in his eyes, which was a manifestation of his strong killing intent. It seems that the old man really didn't come here, otherwise, he wouldn't have watched the disciples go down like this. The woman carrying the guqin said. Although she looks to be in her 40s, her voice is still clear and sweet, but her tone is arrogant and disdainful. It seems that all the creatures in the world are ants in front of her. The news of Lingxiao Academy is reliable at any time. There is no doubt about it. Since this is the case, there is nothing to say. Let's work together to destroy Lingxiao Academy and avenge our children. Man opened his mouth. Long Chen, you beast, you dare to kill Luo Yujiao, and today, I will let you pay for your debts with blood. The man with the long sword hanging from his waist looked at Long Chen and gritted his teeth. His aura fluctuated almost exactly the same as Luo Yujiao's. Obviously, this person should be Luo Yujiao's ancestor, and he came to avenge Luo Yujiao at this time. It turns out that you are afraid that Lord Jingyuan is here, so you have been testing and watching. Long Chen's face was gloomy and grim. He completely understood the opponent's steps, and their attacks were all carefully calculated, and the rhythm of the attack was linked one by one. First, he sealed the Deputy Hall Master, used the Brahma God map to fight against the Lingxiao sword, forced the Academy to open the barrier, and then used the evil spear of hell to break the barrier to test the strength of the Academy, because the barrier is related to countless the life and death of the disciple. If Lord Jingyuan was present, he would definitely come to the rescue. When Yu Qingxian began to repair the barrier, and the killers of the life-hunting clan were dispatched, Bai Shishir almost fell in the end. After pushing Long Chen to this point, Lord Jingyuan still did not show up, which means that Lord Jingyuan is not here. They attacked Lingxiao Academy in a big way, and they must have done various information collection and strategic deployments before. However, it is obvious that these three strong human emperors are somewhat afraid of Lord Jingyuan, and they have not dared to take action until it is confirmed that Lord Jingyuan is not here. Dare to show up. Boom! At this moment, the heavens and the earth roared loudly, and more figures appeared. At that moment, not to mention the disciples of the Academy, even the soldiers of the Dragon Blood Legion felt a chill in their hearts. It turns out that these attacking powerhouses are not all of their strength. Now that they are sure that Lord Jingyuan is not there, they will break out with all their strength. At this moment, it is the moment of the final decisive battle. Brothers, the big battle is coming. Don't have any reservations, go all out. This time we win, our Dragon Blood Legion will rule the world as kings. If we lose, gather on Huangquan Road. In the next life, we form an army again. When he saw the endless number of enemies, the half-step human emperors were as numerous as dogs, and the 8 and 9 Meridian Heavenly Sage powerhouses could not see the end. Gua Ran shouted up to the sky. Although he lost the battle sword and armor, he still had a giant crossbow in his hand. Even he knew that the enemy was too terrifying. After this battle, it was impossible to predict whether the Dragon Blood Legion would still exist. They are going to fight us to the death. They have gathered all their strength and have no reservations. Bai Lishan's heart was sinking. He didn't expect that Brahma Pill Valley would gather the strength of all the party members to uproot Lingxiao Academy. Remove. In the face of the three emperors and the tide-like powerhouses, Long Chen's face was still indifferent, and murderous intent was rolling in his eyes. If you dare to kill my Qin Zong disciple, you should think of today's result. The woman who was carrying the guqin had a sarcastic look on her mouth. I heard that you are crazy. When you were in Hantian City, you once said, I am invincible under the emperor, and the emperor can change each other. Such stupid words. Can you say it again? It's not 1 for 1, but 1 for 3. 8-star battle body open. Long Chen roared, the sound shook the immortal sky, and went straight into the depths of the universe, and then the 8-color divine ring behind him opened, and 8 stars lit up the whole world. Chapter 52:13, 8-star battle body open. This voice swayed back and forth between the heavens and the earth, the ancients trembled, the 10,000 spirits surrendered, and the 10,000 Taos exploded. The dark clouds that originally covered the whole world were forcibly shaken back by this voice. The cloud turned into dust and scattered, and above the 9 heavens, the stars were dotted and shrouded the earth. It was as if the whole world had risen and merged into the starry sky. At that moment, everyone was stunned, regardless of whether they were enemy or me. Boom, Long Chen's body circles, the 8 stars tremble, and a beam of light rushes into the 9-day star sea. At that moment, the starlight poured out, Long Chen was bathed in the starlight, and his breath was skyrocketing. The 8 stars behind Long Chen were bathed in starlight, and Fengfuxing was the first to feel the call and suddenly grew bigger. When it became bigger, Long Chen's breath was like a volcanic eruption, rushing rapidly, violent winds, blowing the void was roaring and trembling, violent coercion, even a half-step human emperor strong, all feeling terrified. Boom, at the moment when Fengfuxing became bigger, Yu Hengxing was pulled and rapidly became bigger, and then Siming. Gong Qi, Shengguan, Ningmen, Zeke, and Yechong. Boom boom boom. Every time a star lights up, Long Chen's breath skyrockets a lot, and every time the breath skyrockets, there is a stronger wave of air rushing around. When the 8th star Nirvana was lit up, the air wave was like a tide, and the wind was like a knife. Even the 3 strong human emperors were rushed back a step by the air wave. At that moment, they were moved, and finally felt the terrifying power of Long Chen. He did have the strength to challenge them. However, at the moment when they were moved, when all the 8 stars were lit up, the 8-color divine ring suddenly shrank, and the energy of the 8 stars was no longer isolated, but instantly penetrated. Boom, when the 8 stars and the divine ring were perfectly combined to form a complete main body, the violent air waves crushed the void, and the 3 powerful emperors were directly shaken by the terrifying air waves. What? At that moment, all the intruding enemies looked at Long Chen with horror. At this time, Long Chen's body was full of divine radiance, and the air waves were rolling, like the reincarnation of the emperor, and even the pressure of the emperor was covered by his breath. Not only the enemy was stunned, but the people in the academy were also stunned. Even the dragon blood warriors were stunned. They knew that the boss was strong, but they didn't expect that he was already so strong. Yu Qingxian held by Shishir and used her life energy to heal Bai Shishi's wounds. At this time, the 2 of them looked at Long Chen's invincible posture, and tears wet their eyes for a while, the kind of person who was desperately protected. The feeling cannot be described in words. They are not afraid of death, but they are reluctant to Long Chen, and similarly, Long Chen is also reluctant to them. Each of them is worthy of Long Chen's life to guard. When they are hurt, Long Chen will become crazy. Wow, the boss is dumbfounded. Brothers, it seems that we still have a show. We don't have to die. Guoran saw that the strong people of the emperor were all shaken by the waves of Long Chen, and shouted excitedly, which made him see hope. Xia Chen, make a mark quickly, everyone has to die. Guoran suddenly thought of Long Chen's previous order and shouted loudly. Boom, and Xia Chen, who had been preparing for a long time, formed seals on his hands, and there was an explosion in the void, and hundreds of millions of talismans poured down and disappeared into the crowd. In the presence of the strong, a golden light spot appeared on everyone's body, but before they could react, the light spot disappeared. Boom, just when people were shocked by Xia Chen's actions, a loud bang came, and a fistful of stars slammed on a guqin, and it was Long Chen who did it. Boom! The first target of Long Chen's shot was the woman of Qinzong. Long Chen's speed was too fast, like a teleportation. On top of the guqin, the explosion shook the sky, the sound of the piano shook, and the Qinzong woman spurted out a mouthful of blood, and was smashed and flew out by a punch. Long Chen punched the Feiqin sect woman, and his fist remained in a swiping posture. His face was full of murderous intent. Just because you are also equipped with a qin? A virtuous hypocrite, who thinks that by standing tall, he can command others and kill him? Qin Kaching is like this, and so are you. I'm fed up with you idiots who want to be a bitch and a Tory. My first academy has just started the road of revival, so I use your blood to open it up. The prelude to the rise of my first academy. Long Chen's voice was cold, without a trace of emotion. At this time, The divine ring behind him trembled. 8 stars shined in the world. Standing under the sea of stars, every word he said was like the decree of the emperor, which was passed into everyone's soul. No one dared to doubt his determination. The arrogant boy, die for the old lady. The Qinzong woman was punched by Long Chen, and the blood spurted wildly, but most of the power of that punch was borne by the Guqin behind her. She was not seriously injured, but as a strong human emperor, she felt the greatness of the sky. Humiliation. Buzz, the vision behind her stretched open, and the dragon energy of the heavenly veins appeared after the 9 meridians were united. When the vision appeared, her emperor's coercion instantly increased several times. When the vision of the emperor was summoned, it meant that, at this time, she no longer has any reservations. The despicable boy who only knows sneak attacks, take this trick from me. The Qinzong woman shouted angrily, playing the piano with one hand, and the 5 strings vibrated. Buzz, the runes on the Guqin lit up, and a transparent crescent wave spurted out from the Guqin, splitting the void and heading straight for Long Chen. When this blow appeared, the heaven and earth trembled. This was a blow from a human emperor-level powerhouse, fully mobilizing the human emperor's divine soldiers. The moment it appeared, the coercion that destroyed the sky and the earth seemed to smash the whole world to smithereens. The powerhouses present heard the harsh sonic boom and watched the laws of heaven above the void keep collapsing. At that moment, their souls were blank, quietly waiting for the doomsday judgment. Boom! The crescent wave ripples quickly fell, and in an instant, they arrived in front of Long Chen. At that moment, everyone in the academy raised their hearts to their throats. You know, it was the emperor who used the full force of the emperor's soldiers. However, in the face of such a terrifying blow, Long Chen did not make a special response. Until the crescent wave came to the front, he opened his big hand, and on the palm of his hand, a pattern of 8 stars appeared, with the god behind him. The ring vision is exactly the same. Boom! In the horrified eyes of countless people, Long Chen's big hand patted the crescent wave, and with a loud noise, the crescent wave was smashed by Long Chen's palm and turned into a stream of light. What? Chapter 52:14. When I saw Long Chen's palm smash the Qinzong woman's blow, at that moment, regardless of the enemy or me, regardless of the cultivation base, everyone was stunned. Long Chen's palm stayed in the air, endless space runes flowed around him, his long hair fluttered, his black robe fluttered, and the unparalleled demeanor made Qian Kuan tremble. At that moment, the picture seemed to freeze. Long Chen's blow shattered the confidence of countless enemies, shattered the illusions of countless enemies, and aroused their fear of death. Try my trick again. The woman roared, the Guqin trembled, and the 7 strings were pulled up at the same time. Boom! However, before her attack was completed, Long Chen had already appeared in front of her. With a big wave of his hand, a slap in the face was slapped on her face. Snapped! With a loud bang, the woman was slapped flying by Long Chen, and her long-charged blow was not interrupted and shot out. However, under the influence of Long Chen's slap, the blow that was originally aimed at Long Chen deviates from the direction and goes straight to the strong men of all races behind her. The strong men screamed in horror, seeing the huge crescent ripples coming from the void. They wanted to escape, but it was too late. Puff puff. The crescent ripples slashed horizontally, and the space of tens of thousands of miles was emptied in an instant. Hundreds of thousands of powerhouses here, including hundreds of half-step emperor-level powerhouses, were instantly killed, and it was too late to even say a word. Buzz, Long Chen slapped the Feiqin sect woman with a slap and stepped out. In the distorted void, a person had appeared in front of her, smashed it down with a punch, and said coldly, "You are in a high position, pampered, and your fighting instinct has degenerated. Who gave you the courage to be arrogant?" At this time, the girl of Qinzong was dazed by Long Chen's slap, as if she was hit by a sledgehammer, and she had long since been unable to distinguish between south, east, north and west. Boom! At this moment, a dark chessboard suddenly appeared in front of Qinzong's woman, blocking Long Chen's punch. As a result, there was an explosion, and the man holding the chessboard, together with the Qinzong woman, was knocked out by Long Chen with a punch. The man holding the chessboard rescued the Qinzong woman at a critical moment. The runes on the chessboard in his hand circulated continuously for a dozen times before it calmed down. The man holding the chessboard looked horrified. He was from Qizong. Long Chen killed Qizong Tianjiao. After Qizong received the invitation from Brahma Pill Valley, he agreed to participate in this battle without even thinking. Foreplot planning and battle command. Qizong is good at layout, and everyone is an excellent conductor. Therefore, the rhythm of this battle is very delicate, but they did not expect that Long Chen and Dragon Blood Legion are powerful. You must know that for this attack on the academy, Brahma Pill Valley gathered all allies, and almost all of the sects who participated in the Heavenly Fire Demon domain came. Their most elite disciples all died in the hands of Long Chen, and only some of the fish that slipped through the net that failed to enter the core land came back alive, and they couldn't swallow this breath. At this time, Brahma Pill Valley took the lead, which immediately caused them to share the enemy's heart. And in order to take down Lingshao Academy in one fell swoop and never have future troubles, all the major forces have come up with the strongest lineup to support this battle. However, the ancient powers all know that Lingshao Academy has a living fossil horror figure, and that person is absolutely untouchable. In fact, Qinzong and Qizong are also afraid, so Qizong's deployment is to test first, and then decide whether to attack in a big way. If the old man is there, they will retreat directly, at least part of their strength can be preserved. After testing, they found that the legendary old man was indeed not there, and they immediately prepared to uproot the first branch with the trend of sweeping the caves in the Plough Court. It's just that they didn't expect that the mysterious old man was not there, and Long Chen suddenly turned into a terrifying monster. Let's kill him together. He is the descendant of the 9 stars and the bane of the whole world. They are the gods of death who lived for destruction. At this time, there was a terrified cry of the Brahma Pill Valley human sovereign in the distance. Heirs of 9 stars? When they heard the voice of the powerful human emperor, the powerhouses present felt their heads buzzing. This name is a taboo name that only exists in legends. In reality, almost no one will mention it. As for the descendants of the 9 stars, there are still many people who know about the powerhouses of the older generation, but the disciples of the new generation do not know what the descendants of the 9 stars represent. It is rumored that the descendants of 9 stars are the seeds of revenge born to destroy the world. They are born with endless hatred, they hate this world, and their ultimate goal is to destroy the 9 heavens and 10 places. It is rumored that they are the seeds of revenge left by those extraterrestrial demons after the death of the Chaos War. They have only one goal in life, and that is to destroy everything in the world. They are powerful and terrifying, and they are enemies of the whole world. They are demons that everyone can kill. For hundreds of millions of years, the descendants of Jiuxing have gradually disappeared, and people think that the descendants of Jiuxing have been completely extinct. Until modern times, the descendant of 9 stars has been regarded as a legend, and basically no one will mention it, and some even think that the descendant of 9 stars is just a fabricated and fictitious character. Now the name of the descendant of 9 stars is spoken from the mouth of the Dan Valley powerhouse, and the powerhouses present are all frightened, as if they were hit by a bolt from the blue. They know that in history, the Brahma Pill Valley lineage has led the powerful countless times, encircled and suppressed the descendants of the 9 stars, and broke out countless bloody battles, and the two are already on the same page. Later, the descendants of the 9 stars disappeared. People thought that the descendants of the 9 stars were all killed by the Brahma lineage. If others said that Long Chen was the descendants of the 9 stars, they would definitely not believe them. Lingshao Academy is hiding the descendants of the 9 stars, with the intention of subverting the 9 heavens and 10 places and destroying all living beings. Everyone will work together to eradicate them all. A strong human emperor from Brahma Pill Valley shouted, "Go!" The strong chess sect waved his hand. He was the commander-in-chief of the battlefield. Maybe everyone would not listen to Brahma Pill Valley's words, but they would listen to him. Kill! Following the order of the chess master, the masters of all ethnic groups roared and rushed towards the Dragon Blood Legion like a tide. Come on, is it the first legion of the 9 heavens and 10 earths? Let's see today's battle. Guaran roared and ordered the Dragon Blood Legion to set up the formation. Now that there was a barrier behind them, they began to retreat to the periphery of the barrier and narrow the battle. Circle, more conducive to their combat. As for the other disciples, there is no room for them to fight, and they can only retreat into the enchantment. They can only give their lives to Long Chen and the soldiers of the Dragon Blood Legion. Little bastard, aren't you arrogant? The legendary descendant of the 9 stars? Born for destruction? Humph, I want to appreciate it. When you see your brother Hong Yen being killed, will your expression still be cold? Qin Zong the woman was continuously humiliated and frustrated, and her face was full of resentment. Boom, Long Chen did not answer him, the space trembled, and 2 beautiful girls appeared. When they appeared, they immediately turned into boundless flames and thunder to drown all the invaders. Chapter 52:15 Boom. Lei Linger and Hua Linger appeared. They did not directly meet the enemy, but turned into a sea of thunder and flames, which instantly surrounded the entire battlefield. Puff puff. The sea of thunder and fire was surging, filling the entire battlefield. Those powerhouses who rushed in were instantly swallowed up by the sea of thunder and fire, and the powerhouses below the 6-veined heavenly sage were strangled by thunder and flames and turned to ashes. Countless powerhouses were emptied in an instant, and powerhouses below the 6-meridian heavenly sage were simply unable to withstand the power of Lei Linger and Hua Linger, while the 6-meridian and above heavenly sage powerhouses were not immediately killed, but they were still able to withstand the power of the 2. It was extremely uncomfortable to be pressed by the power of thunder and fire, and could only be supported. This time, Lei Linger and Hua Linger have been reborn in the heavenly fire demon domain. The 2 who have mastered the power of heavenly fire and heavenly thunder have opened up such a terrifying thunderfire domain. Their strength is dispersed, but they can still easily crush Lumaishan. Strong below Saint. The powerhouses from the 6 meridians to the 9 meridians were entangled in the power of thunder and fire, unable to get rid of them for a while, so they could only bite the bullet and rush forward. As a result, their combat power was greatly affected. And those half-step human sovereign-level powerhouses were especially taken care of by Lei Linger and Hua Linger. Countless tiny dragon patterns were attached to their bodies, desperately eroding their bodies and souls. Even a half-step human sovereign-level powerhouse can't completely resist this kind of power. It must be known that Lei Linger and Hua Linger control. One is the thunder of heavenly tribulation, and the other is the source of heavenly fire. Although the thunder and fire power has been dispersed and cannot cause fatal damage to them, under their key care, they not only disperse their energy, but also allocate a part of their strength to resist the pervasive thunder and fire power. Their combat power is interfered and suppressed. At most, it can only exert about 60% of the original combat power. Kill, the soldiers roared, watching the enemy surrounded by flames and thunder, and the long sword slashed wildly. However, as soon as they touched it, they found that the strength of the enemy had been weakened so much, and their confidence suddenly increased. Puff puff. At the very beginning of the battle, countless powerhouses were chopped into pieces by the Dragon Blood warriors, and the half-step Emperor-level powerhouses were hacked to death by the chaotic swords without showing their proper strength. I can't get enough of it. At this time, Xiachen was also in a hurry. Without any reservations, his hands were sealed, and endless talismans flew out. As if he didn't want money, he shot in all directions, and he directly took out all his family assets. Although Yu Zifeng was wounded before, his attack was still sharp, his figure turned, and he specially picked a half-step human sovereign-level powerhouse to attack. With a single strike, there must be a half-step human sovereign-level powerhouse killed. The flames rolled, the thunder rumbled, and the entire battlefield was like a hell on earth. In the blink of an eye, countless people died. And those who died were all real masters, all giants, and they were all important figures in any power. However, here, their lives are like grass and mustard. being harvested arbitrarily. The powerhouses in the enchantment, watching the battle outside, have their scalps numb. At this time, they have forgotten their fear, and they look at the dragon blood warriors. They, one by one, like a god of war possessed, they cut down the peerless powerhouses into the void. Now they know what a real war is, especially the disciples of the branch. The so-called big scenes they have experienced are not even dust compared to the war in front of them. At this time, they finally understood the gap between themselves and the strong. What they lacked was not talent, understanding, background, and resources, but the lack of the baptism of blood and fire, the test of life and death. The real strong are not raised, but killed. They are also the sons of destiny. The dragon blood warriors face the half-step emperor without any influence, and they are ruthless. The emperor's breath was so pressed that he couldn't move, and the gap was simply a world of difference. With the help of the domains of Lei Linger and Huolinger, the Dragon Blood Legion forcibly withstood the first wave of shocks. When the first wave of shocks was withstood, the Dragon Blood warriors immediately understood that victory had beckoned to them. The strongest wave of charges is smashed, which means that they have smashed the confidence and will of the enemy, and the enemy's fighting spirit will drop rapidly. Puff puff. The battle on the battlefield shook the sky, and the blood mist dyed the sky red. And Long Chen stood in the void, looking coldly at the three powerful emperors in front of him. His face was gloomy and authentic. I love peace and hope to be kind to others, but you keep humiliating and hurting me. If you just humiliate me and hurt me, maybe I can bear it. But why do you want to hurt my beloved ones? Do you know that it would make me miserable, it would drive me crazy, it would make me a different person, someone I feared even myself? Long Chen's voice became colder and colder, word by word, like a whisper of a demon, almost freezing people's souls. Especially at the end, Long Chen looked down at the blood stained on his palms. It was by Shishi's blood. His face became grim. Why are you forcing me? Long Chen roared into the sky. The void burst open, like a bolt of lightning rushing towards the three. Long Chen's speed was extremely fast, and the void was full of afterimages left by him. Together resist, the strong chess sect shouted loudly, and the chessboard in his hand trembled and rapidly enlarged, forming a huge chessboard with a square meter. After the chessboard is enlarged, it can be clearly seen that the picture of 100 beasts is engraved on it. As the strong chess sect reconciles, the strong Qin sect and the strong man from the celestial clan each play a hand and press it on the chessboard. The power of the emperor broke out, and the three of them joined forces to fight with Long Chen recklessly. Xinghunt, Cross Destroyer God. Long Chen shouted, and the 8-star god map in the palm disappeared, and a cross-star pattern appeared. As soon as the pattern appeared, the stars trembled violently. If you look at it from the front, the plain cross instantly becomes a three-dimensional, and the cross looks as if the sky has been cut with a cross. From the gap, you can see endless stars circulating, and Long Chen's palm is solid. Printed on the huge chessboard. Boom! With a loud bang, the heaven and the earth vibrated, and the void flickered and darkened. The huge chessboard was torn apart in an instant, and the three people behind the chessboard flew out with blood spurting wildly. What? Seeing this scene, the 8 powerful emperors who sealed the Hall Master were all shocked. Although they also knew that the descendants of 9 stars were extremely terrifying, they did not expect to be so strong. Under the blessing of the 3 human emperors, the human emperor was still smashed by Long Chen. The power of Long Chen has subverted everyone's cognition. I am invincible under the emperor, and the emperor is 1 for 1. At that moment, this sentence sounded in the minds of countless people, and at this time, no one dared to question this sentence again. Ta-ta-ta. At this moment, Long Chen paced in the air and walked towards the 3 terrified human sovereign powerhouses in the distance. Chapter 52:16. I fought with you. As soon as the Qinzong woman gritted her teeth, she snapped her tongue, and blood spurted on the guqin. Buzzing. The strings on the guqin lit up continuously. At that moment, the guqin was like a wild beast being awakened. The blood that the woman sprayed on the guqin was absorbed by the guqin, and the breath of the Guqin rose rapidly. Blood sacrifice, by Ledin and others were shocked. This Qinzong woman was so ruthless that she actually exchanged her blood essence to let the spirit fight for her. When the artifact spirit is awakened, the artifact spirit will use the blood essence of Qinzong women as nourishment to enter the crazy battle mode. This is an extremely tragic battle mode. The artifact spirit will be stimulated by the blood essence and will fall into a state of rage. In this state, it will frantically burn the blood of Qinzong women in exchange for infinite combat power. If Longchen cannot be defeated before the blood is exhausted, then Guqin will extract the power of her soul until she dies. In other words, once such a battle mode is activated, it will be an endless game. No one would have thought that she hated Longchen to such an extent that this woman is simply a lunatic. 5 sounds broken soul. The woman of Qinzong stopped drinking, she held the strings in her hand, and the rootless strings were pulled, and a crescent wave appeared. She had used this move before. At that time, the blow was shocking and overwhelming, but this time, the blow came out without the slightest sound, but those who saw this blow felt severe pain in their souls. At a glance, it seems that the soul is about to be split. Obviously, with the same trick, this blow has a qualitative change from the previous one. When the Qinzong woman sent a blow, the entire barrier was affected and began to tremble uncomfortably. Boom! In the face of this blow, Longchen still slapped down with a palm, and with a loud noise, the crescent was smashed, but this time, Longchen was shocked and stepped back 3 steps. Ta-ta-ta! However, after Longchen took 3 steps back, he was still pacing in the air and slowly walked towards the 3 of them. His facial expression and his eyes were cold. In your eyes I saw fear. It turns out that you also know fear, and you also know to cherish life. Since you know how precious life is, why do you arbitrarily deprive others of their lives? Don't keep it, let's sacrifice to the holy soldiers together. Don't worry, after the blood sacrifice, we will use the power of Brahma to help you heal, and we will never let you have any sequelae. There was an anxious cry from the Brahma Pill Valley Human Sovereign Powerhouse. Boom! However, as soon as his words fell, the 8 regions God map exploded, and the 8 regions God map, which had never moved, suddenly trembled rapidly. Crazy into the 8 domains God map. At this moment, the strong chess master who lost the chessboard has a broadsword in his hand. The broadsword is half black and half white, and the coercion is amazing. As soon as the broadsword came out, he also sprayed a mouthful of blood on it. The broadsword trembled suddenly, as if it had come to life, and he also completed the blood sacrifice. Seeing that both of them had completed the blood sacrifice, the strong man of the celestial clan clenched his teeth, put away the long sword in his hand, and took out a piece of bone. He sprayed a mouthful of blood on the bones, and the bones were infected by the blood and attached to his palm in an instant. Laugh. At the moment when it was attached to his palm, smoke rose from his palm, and the flesh and blood burned up in an instant, leaving only the bone claws. The bone claws showed a metallic luster, and the vast power of the emperor gushed out. Affected by the bone claws, the breath of the strong human race that day skyrocketed several times in an instant. Kill! The 3 roared at the same time. They knew that today and Longchen must have a life and death decision. If Longchen did not die, they would be the ones who died. From Longchen's eyes, they could see the monstrous killing intent. Boom! Longchen slammed, the 8 stars on his fists circulated, and the starlight surged all over his body, and he punched the black and white long sword of the strong chess master. At the moment when the fists and swords meet, people can see a transparent ripple spreading. When the ripple spreads 100 miles away, the void roars and explodes, and the endless runes of the avenue are blown up. Soon, that kind of spatial fluctuation is beyond the scope of everyone's understanding. When Longchen and the Qizong powerhouse fought recklessly, the Qinzong powerhouse and the heavenly human race powerhouse also came at the same time. Snapped, Longchen opened his big hand and grabbed the bone claws of the heavenly human race powerhouse. He did not resist, but took advantage of the situation. That day, the human race strongman exclaimed and was involuntarily pulled by Longchen and was taken by Longchen. He took the weapon and smashed it at the Qinzong woman. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the Qinzong woman didn't have time to react. Gu Qin slammed into the waist of the Celestial Clan strongman, and with a click, the Celestial Clan strongman's body was folded and blood spurted out. The sudden change caught the Qinzong woman by surprise. She almost killed her companion with a full blow, and just as she was stunned, Long Chen smashed her face with a punch. The woman instinctively raised the piano to block, and after a loud bang, the Qinzong woman and the powerful human race rolled out. Although the three of them are noble, they have been in the position of the emperor for too long, and they have not fought for many years. Has degenerated. Usually, they all use the coercion of the emperor, and they don't need to do anything at all, and there is almost no war between the strong people of the emperor, which leads to the fact that once they encounter the strong people of the same level, their battles are full of flaws. Long Chen snorted coldly and knocked the two of them flying with one punch. Just as he was about to pursue the victory, Long Chen suddenly found out that the strong chess sect who had been knocked flying by him actually attacked the Dragon Blood Legion. This guy was extremely sinister and could see that the three were not Long Chen's opponent. It is better to attack the Dragon Blood Legion and lead Long Chen to rescue. Court death. Long Chen's face was gloomy. He stepped on the void, the starlight surging under his feet, and the figure disappeared in an instant. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the strong chess master. The chess master was shocked. He didn't expect Long Chen's reaction to be so fast, and such a long distance came in an instant. He roared, the black and white long sword in his hand, and slashed down at Long Chen. At the moment when he cut out the sword, the Qinzong woman and the strong man of the Celestial Clan had already killed the Dragon Blood Legion from the other two directions. Obviously, the chess masters have already communicated with them. The three of them saw that they could not defeat Long Chen head-on, and chose to attack the Dragon Blood Legion. They did not want to kill the Dragon Blood warriors, but their goal was to break the enchantment. And breaking the barrier is not their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal is by Shishir and Yu Qingxian, because they know what the two of them mean to Long Chen. As long as they are caught, it is equivalent to detaining Long Chen. The Gate of Life. Buzz. Just when the chess sect powerhouse thought that Long Chen would fight recklessly with his fists, a pitch-black sword appeared in Long Chen's hand. Chapter 52:17 Boom. When the Keel Evil Moon appeared, the power of Long Chen's stars poured into it. The Keel Evil Moon trembled suddenly, and an evil spirit rose into the sky, like the resurrection of the ancient demon. Evil Moon. Long Chen was shocked. He didn't expect that the Keel Evil Moon woke up at this time, and it was too time to wake up. Long Chen, it's time to show my true power. Come on, call my name. The waning moon shakes the world. The voice of the Keel Evil Moon came. The waning moon is shocking. Long Chen didn't even think about it, he called out the name directly. And just as Long Chen called out the name, the Keel Evil Moon suddenly lit up, and the crescent on the tip of the knife trembled, like a waning moon hanging above the void. The waning moon appeared, the heavens and the earth trembled, the eternity resonated, and the whole world began to shake, as if the name itself made the eternity immortal sphere terrified. Buzz. There are two dragon patterns on both sides of the Keel Evil Moon. If you look at it from both sides at the same time, the heads of the two dragon patterns are facing the waning moon of the blade. At that moment, the Keel Evil Moon seems to break free and burst out. Boom! The Keel Evil Moon slashed down, and in the horrified eyes of countless people, the moment the broadsword of the strong chess master touched the Keel Evil Moon, it burst into powder. Puff! The Keel Evil Moon slashed down, and the strong chess sect was split into two pieces with one knife, killing it with one blow. At that moment, the audience was horrified. The strong human emperor was beheaded by one blow. In front of the Keel Evil Moon, the human emperor divine soldier of the strong chess sect was like a toy, and it was simply vulnerable to a single blow. Long Chen killed the chess sect strongman with one blow, and just got up and rushed to the Qin sect woman who was closest to the enchantment, and then the voice of the dragon bone Evil Moon came. After sleeping for so long, you can't make you look down on me, point the tip of the knife at her, and read to me, The waning moon pierces the sky. The waning moon pierces the sky. When the tip of Long Chen's knife pointed at the Qinzong woman, she slammed it down. The keel evil moon trembled violently, the waning moon above the blade tip trembled, and a waning moon streamer crossed time and space and slashed at the Qinzong woman. Puff, everything happened so fast, so strange, that Qinzong woman didn't even react. She was hit by the waning moon streamer, her body shattered into powder. Boom, the waning moon not only smashed her body, but also slashed on the guqin. The guqin was cut into 2 pieces by the waning moon. The waning qin danced in the void, and the strings squeaked out a harsh sound, which was its unwilling roar. The dragon bone evil moon is in hand, and the strong human emperor has lost the qualification to challenge in front of Long Chen. In the blink of an eye, the 2 emperors were killed at the same time. At that moment, even the strong men who attacked the enchantment crazily. It was already discouraged, and some people saw that the situation was not good, and they had already started to retreat. On that day, the strong man of the human race saw that the situation was not good, and his 2 companions were killed in an instant. Now he is the only one left to face and have no chance of winning. He was just about to escape. Buzz, as soon as he moved, Ling Lai's murderous aura locked him in, only to see Long Chen raise the keel evil moon, the long knife fell, the galaxy trembled, and the world was torn into 2 pieces. Puff! That day, the strong man of the human race was smashed into powder by thousands of miles of swordsmanship. He wanted to escape, but he didn't even have the chance to escape. Boom! At this moment, there was a loud explosion in the distance, and the image of the gods in the 8 realms exploded. The Lord of the Palace, people exclaimed that the Lord of the Palace finally broke the seal, and only then did people discover that during the time when the Palace Lord was sealed, the Lord of the Palace had actually advanced from the 9 meridians heavenly saint to the half-step human sovereign. Die! The Hall Master shouted angrily, his hands clasped together, and suddenly 2 dragon claws appeared between the heavens and the earth. The huge dragon claws slammed together fiercely, and the void of tens of thousands of miles shattered like a mirror. Wrapped in it. Boom! With a loud noise, what shocked Long Chen was that the terrifying blow of the Palace Master contained endless imperial power. Although the Palace Master was only a half-step emperor, his breath was the number of these powerful emperors. Times above. Long Chen originally thought that the 8 emperors would be slapped to death by the Palace Master, but he did not expect that it was not the 8 emperors but the dragon claws of the Palace Master that burst. Puff! The Lord of the Palace suddenly spurted out a mouthful of blood. He looked at a piece of things held by one of them, and his eyes were full of disbelief. Emperor! And Long Chen saw a milky white jade the size of a baby's fist in the man's hand, and his heart jumped wildly, that thing Long Chen had seen. Emperor Jade? Long Chen exclaimed. When Long Chen and Emonian were hunted down by Qizong and Brahma Pill Valley powerhouses, Long Chen saw their transaction with Amethyst Tiantong, and the Qizong powerhouse exchanged Emperor Jade fragments in exchange for the 3,000 disciples of the Qizong powerhouse. Enter the way of Brahma. But that piece of Emperor Jade is only the size of a peanut, and this piece of Emperor Jade is much larger than that one. It is as white as jade, without any runes, but it seems to possess the power of a universe, with a far-flung and endless aura. At this time, the lustrous light around it kept trembling, and there seemed to be flames circling. When he saw the Emperor Jade, Long Chen's heart jumped wildly. The breath of this Emperor Jade made him feel so close. Buzz! Suddenly the Brahma god figure above the 9 heavens trembled, breaking away from the confrontation with the Ling Shao divine sword, and went straight to the 8 people galloping. Want to go dream? Long Chen slammed and slammed the keel evil moon out of his hand. Long Chen didn't care whether it was the Brahma god figure that gathered the power of endless faith, holding the keel evil moon and slashed against the Brahma god figure. Boom! The keel evil moon slashed on the Brahma god map, and with a shocking explosion, Long Chen's arms were shaken into blood and flesh, and the huge anti-shock force almost shocked Long Chen. However, Long Chen's block caused the Brahma god's picture to rotate for a while, and the god's picture was forcibly cut out of a gap. Puff puff! Just when Long Chun blocked the Brahma god's picture, the lord of the temple over there also shot. He was covered in black dragon scales, and his blood was soaring. Blow up. The 7 human sovereign powerhouses were almost killed in an instant, and when the Hall Master rushed towards the last human sovereign powerhouse, the human sovereign powerhouse held the Emperor Jade and slashed in the void, and the world was divided into 2. The lord of the palace was actually blasted out by a strange force. Boom! At this moment, the Ling Xiao divine sword slashed down from the sky, and slashed heavily on the Brahma divine map. The divine brilliance of the Brahma divine map dimmed a little in an instant. It was slashed by Long Qin, and then by the Ling Xiao divine sword. In the cut, it was wounded. Seeing Ling Xiao divine sword coming, Long Qin immediately ignored the picture of Brahma god, carrying the Keel evil moon and killing the old man. Roll. The old man saw Long Qin kill, and the Emperor Jade in his hand glowed, and he even hit the Keel evil moon in Long Chen's hand with a small Emperor Jade. Boom! The Keel evil moon slashed on top of the Emperor Jade, and with a loud noise, the Keel evil moon came out of his hands. Long Chen was shocked with blood, but the old man was unharmed. Die! The old man was overjoyed, his hands were sealed, and he wanted to end Long Chen's life with Emperor Jade, but when Long Chen vomited blood, when Emperor Jade was stained with Long Chen's blood, it suddenly trembled, and then it was suspended in the air. The old man was shocked to find that he could not control it with the power of faith. Snapped, Long Chen didn't know what happened. Seeing the Emperor Jade floating in the void, he didn't want to grab the Emperor Jade, hold the Emperor Jade's fist, and smash the old man's chest. Boom! With a loud bang, the old man, together with the void he was in, was punched by Long Chen through a big hole of tens of thousands of miles. At that moment, the audience was dead silent. Even Long Chen himself was stunned, and others were even more shocked by Long Chen. Frightened by the power of one punch. Chapter 52:18 Long Chen held the Emperor Jade and punched the void with one punch. A large hole of tens of thousands of miles was formed in the void. The endless dark energy in the big hole was spinning. The blade of space that should exist in the black hole was also punched by Long Chen. It was beaten into powder and twisted like a paste. Long Chen's punch not only shattered the void, but also shattered the laws in the dark world. Even the lord of the palace was shocked by the power of Long Chen's punch. Even Long Chen himself was stunned, and he didn't know why. When he punched out, the Emperor Jade in his palm was slightly hot, and he felt a warm current flying out, and then there was this terrifying scene in front of him. Boom! At this moment, the Ling Xiao divine sword slashed again on the Brahma god diagram, and with a loud bang, the Brahma god diagram shuddered and flew out. At the moment when it flew out, endless pictures and texts glowed around it, and the figure of Brahma in the center of the picture flashed rapidly. Where to escape? Long Chen looked at this posture. He shouted angrily, held the Emperor Jade in his hand, and rushed towards the Brahma god map. He wanted to try whether he could use the power of the Emperor Jade to blow up the Brahma god map. And at the moment when he shot, Kiel Shiyue and Qiankuan Ding exclaimed at the same time, "Don't want, Buzz." Long Chen was startled. He didn't know why Qiankuan Cauldron and Kiel Shiyue were so panicked and hurriedly stopped their bodies. At this time, the void trembled, and the Brahma god figure disappeared in an instant. Escape! The Brahma god figure disappeared, and the strong men of all ethnic groups who had already begun to collapse completely lost their fighting spirit. Kill! When the endless powerhouses began to flee frantically, the soldiers of the Dragon Blood Legion roared and slaughtered them out. If they didn't kill the underdogs at this time, when would they wait? The Dragon Blood Legion attacked, and the geniuses in the enchantment also roared in rage. They rushed out of the enchantment and followed behind the Dragon Blood Legion to kill. Boom! When this group of people retreated, the sea of thunder and flames became violent in an instant. Lei Linger and Hua Linger rushed out of the sea of thunder and fire. Lei Linger held the thunder spear that was taken from Huang Wudao, and specially picked it up. Half-step Emperor-level powerhouse shot. Puff puff. Lei Linger and Hua Linger came out of their cages like fierce tigers. Lei Linger shot and killed a half-step human emperor holding a flaming long sword, and threw the human emperor divine weapon with the flame attribute in his hand to Huolinger. Huolinger suddenly became even more powerful, with one sword and one general, none of which would be combined. The two shot, and the circle of the sea of thunder and fire kept changing. They dragged these people with the field of thunder and fire, slowing down their movement speed and, most importantly, disturbing the spatial fluctuations, making them unable to teleport. Therefore, although they ran away desperately, the speed was not fast. The dragon blood warriors rushed to kill like a wolf, and a large area of the strong fell down, and the blood fell on the ground like rain. The army was defeated like a mountain, and they had completely lost their fighting spirit. The most important thing was that they had been frightened by the Dragon Blood Legion. They were simply a group of demons. What Dragon Blood Legion was the Devil Legion? Kill, brothers, it's this time. If we don't have a few heads in our hands, do we still have the face to call ourselves Tianjiao? Someone in the first branch roared. This roaring person is the one who was forced to lie down on the barrier by the power of the emperor before, unable to move. Their hearts are full of anger and unwillingness. They have never experienced such humiliation. They are going crazy at this time. At this time, the anger in their chests almost burst them. If he didn't kill a few people, he felt that he had no face to live. Thinking that in the small world, one by one, they are self-righteous, and they used to be so disgusting. They vow to be as brave and fearless as the Dragon Blood Warrior, even if it was just for a moment, even if I don't regret losing my life for this. Kill, these suffocated geniuses, gnashing their teeth, like crazy, they saw the enemy and slashed with all their might. When someone's weapon exploded, they jumped directly on the enemy and bit the enemy's throat with their teeth. It was the Dragon Blood Warriors who inspired their blood, and their souls were transforming. The impact of this battle on them was too great. After just a few hours of battle, they had completely matured. A brave warrior. Long Chen did not participate in the pursuit, and watching the Brahma god figure escape, he was a little unwilling. Long Chen was just going to see by Shishi's injury, and suddenly Long Chen felt a sharp pain in his heart, and Long Chen suddenly paled, almost fall down. Long Chen, what's wrong with you? The big hand of the master of the hall supported Long Chen's arm. When he touched Long Chen's body, he couldn't help but change his face. He sensed that Long Chen's meridians were riddled with holes and were in danger of collapse at any time. The lord of the palace was shocked, angry, and self-blame. He knew that Long Chen had used power that he could not control, resulting in damage to the meridians. If he could be more cautious at the beginning, he would not be trapped by the 8 domains god diagram. Long Chen will not suffer such terrifying damage. You must know that the meridians are damaged so badly that if you don't get it right, Long Chen will become a waste from now on. It was only at this time that Long Chen realized that his situation was already so bad. No wonder the Dragon Bone Shiyue and Qiankuan Cauldron didn't let him attack the Brahma God map, and his body could no longer withstand any impact. Lord Palace Master, I'm fine, but you are in the 8 domains God map, forcibly attacking the half-step emperor. There is nothing wrong with it. Long Chen is not worried about his injury, he knows his body, some are worried about the Lord of the Palace. The Lord of the Palace was trapped in the 8 regions God map, and the 8 great human sovereigns worked together to suppress it. Forcing a breakthrough in that kind of place would have to pay a terrifying price. The Lord of the Palace carefully inspected Long Chen's body and found that although his meridians were riddled with holes, their resilience was still there, and there was no sign of collapse. He breathed a sigh of relief. Nothing in the 8 domains God map, half of my power resists their seal and compresses the other half. When the power undergoes a qualitative change, I detonate it. I did not borrow external force, so it has no effect. That's okay? Isn't this the same as self-destruction? Long Chen was stunned. This is the unique magical power of my wild dragon clan. You just know it, don't learn it. The hall master said. Long Chen nodded. This kind of trick is really impossible to learn. Long Chen swallowed a pill to stabilize the injury in the body. He looked at the battlefield. The battle was coming to an end, and the sea of thunder and fire had become the ring of thunder and fire. Because the enemy has fled too far, the scope of the sea of thunder and fire has been stretched, and the enemy can only be pulled in a ring. The Dragon Blood Warriors and the disciples of the Academy, with the assistance of Lei Linger and Hua Linger, desperately kill the enemy. People. Anguaran put the giant crossbow at the top of the enchantment, and those strong men became living targets. He specially picked the fastest shot to ensure that no one escaped. Guaran, order to withdraw the troops. Long Chen said to Guaran, who was frantically shooting the enemy. Retract? This. Guaran couldn't believe his ears. We can obviously kill them all. Guaran couldn't help saying. Let them go, let's chase them to their old nest. If you honestly hand over people, forget it. If you don't hand in people, you will exterminate the race. Long Chen's face was gloomy and authentic. Hearing Long Chen's words, Guaran was clever. He understood, the boss was completely angry, and he was going to play big. Withdraw troops. As Guaran's cry spread across the battlefield, this world-shattering war finally ended. Chapter 52:19, Long Chen, can you show me that piece of jade? The master said. Certainly, Long Chen hurriedly handed the piece of jade in his hand to the Lord of the Palace, but the Lord of the Palace took a step back, hurriedly waved his hand, and did not pick it up. Just put it in your hands, I'll just take a look. Before, the Lord of the Palace made a lore and was shattered by a trace of breath in this jade stone. He was horrified, and he vaguely felt that this trace of breath was likely to be the legendary Emperor Qi. The breath was extremely weak, almost imperceptible, but such a faint breath could shatter his full strength with one blow. The Lord of the Palace looked at the Emperor Jade, and saw that the original warm and white Emperor Jade was now covered with bloodlines, and the bloodlines were caused by Long Chen's blood penetrating into it. At this time, the bloodlines in the Emperor Jade slowly flowed, and there was no trace of aura leaking out. It was no different from ordinary jade, and there was no clue. After watching for a while, the Lord of the Palace asked Long Chen to put the Emperor Jade away. Now that the strong enemy has dispersed, he no longer needs to do anything. He needs to find a place to stabilize the violent blood, so he and Long Chen, and after Bai Letian said hello, he returned to his residence. After the Lord of the Palace left, Long Chen returned to the enchantment and came to Bai Shishi's side. Seeing Bai Shishir lying in her mother's arms with his eyes closed, Long Chen couldn't help but startled. Bai Shishi's mother said, "Don't worry, although Shishir has been hit hard, her source is strong and won't affect her foundation. Just let her get a good night's sleep." Hearing what Bai Shishi's mother said, Long Chen immediately felt relieved. At this time, Bai Zhantong, Bai Xiaola's mother and Bai Letian were all on the side, and Long Chen said to Bai Zhantong and others, "I'm sorry, I didn't protect it well." Poetry. Humph. Bai Zhantong snorted coldly and left with a gloomy face. When Bai Zhantong left, Bai Shishi's mother was extremely embarrassed, and Yu Qingxian felt even more uncomfortable. Bai Shishir was seriously injured because she saved her. Bai Shishi's mother said, "Qingxian, Long Chen, I'm really sorry, this guy Zhantong is so rude, I'm here to apologize for him. Actually, don't be angry with him either, because he is angry not because of you, but because of himself. He hated himself as a father, he didn't protect his daughter, and he hated himself, and he didn't listen to the words of the palace master, so he took the time to improve his realm. If he can improve his realm to a half-step human emperor, he won't be able to watch Shishir get hurt, so he is also extremely uncomfortable, but he is a person who loves face." Yes, Zhantong is such a person, he is angry with his own incompetence. In fact, it is also our incompetence. Alas, none of us expected that Dan Gu would suddenly attack the academy and summon so many strong men. Sure enough, because he ate too much Taiping meal, there would be no sense of urgency. Bai Xiaole's mother sighed. A look of shame appeared on Bai Lishan's face. The responsibility is actually mine, and I know everything about Long Chen in the Tianhua Demon Realm, but I didn't expect that Brahma Pill Valley would counterattack so madly. As the dean of the General Hospital, he has lived endless years. Others can make this mistake, but with his experience, he should not make such a mistake. If he can be cautious, prevent Dango from counterattacking, and make arrangements in time, the Lord of the Palace will advance half a step in advance to avoid risks. If the Hall Master advanced to the half-step human sovereign in advance, even if the 8 great human sovereigns held the 8 regions God map, he would not be able to trap him. With the Hall Master as the pillar, this battle would not be so passive at all. The Palace Master returned to his residence. Obviously, he was in a very bad mood. Although the Palace Master did not usually talk much, he was a very proud person. In this battle, he is the most embarrassed. He has no power but no chance to use it. Even 100 people will feel extremely uncomfortable, not to mention the arrogant lord of the palace. Hearing what everyone said, Long Chen felt a lot more comfortable, and he smiled bitterly. If you want to blame it, you should also blame me. The Cold Sky domain was destroyed by me, and the domain master was killed by me, but I don't think about Pill Valley. Revenge, I'm utterly stupid. Long Chen himself felt like a fool who did such a big thing without taking any precautions. Fortunately, the powerhouses of Pill Valley came a step late, so that all the Dragon Blood Legion awakened the vision of destiny. Otherwise, after this battle, the Dragon Blood Legion would definitely suffer large-scale casualties, and the other disciples, I don't even know how many people will survive. Bai Shishi's mother smiled and said, "Okay, let's not blame ourselves, there is providence, and the academy has been preserved. Although there are some casualties, it has little impact on the academy in general. Those of us are nothing compared to the losses of the enemy." When everyone heard this, they all looked outside the barrier. The surrounding academy is now in ruins, and the ground is red with blood. This battle is definitely a world-shattering battle. Tens of thousands of emperors. As for those celestial saints, it is impossible to count them. It can be said that Lingshao Academy won a great victory in this battle, and the Brahma Pill Valley, except for the escaped Brahma God map, has been wiped out. It's a pity. If you don't withdraw your troops, boss, I can definitely kill them all, and none of them can escape. Bai Xiaola gritted his teeth. At this time, Bai Xiaola was covered in blood, and his murderous aura was still unabated. Today, he is different from the usual him. Obviously, Bai Shirshir was injured, which made him almost crazy. Although he always bickered with Bai Shirshir, and Bai Shirshir often beat him, but this did not affect their sibling relationship at all. Seeing that her sister was almost killed, Bai Xiaola turned into a demon for the first time in her life and fought bloody battlefields. Good job, your performance today exceeded my expectations. Today, you are a real man. Long Chen patted Bai Xiaola on the shoulder. Hearing Long Chen's praise, Bai Xiaola suddenly became a little shy. Long Chen smiled and said, "I think Shirshir has seen your performance. Even if I see it, it won't delay me beating him." However, what everyone didn't expect was that Bai Shirshir suddenly spoke. Long Chen and others looked at Bai Shirshir. Bai Shirshir still closed his eyes at this time, still in his sleep. The sentence just now was just a sentence raving. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then burst into laughter. Bai Shirshir was in her sleep, and she even received a sentence. Obviously, this was her instinctive response. Bai Xiaola was speechless for a while. He didn't know why, but when he heard Bai Shishi's words, he felt very warm. As long as his sister was okay, he wouldn't be afraid of being beaten. Master Dean, since the Brahma Pill Valley's strong army has been wiped out, can we directly pull out the Brahma Pill Valley's nest? Long Chen said. Hearing Long Chen's words, everyone present jumped wildly. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.